Anyways, you know that's the secret to Parasite Eve success, right? You gotta prep. You gotta have some pregame. But this is Parasite Eve. My name is Professor Palmer. We're gonna go ahead and start. So I'm gonna give a countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. So this is Parasite Eve. Hopefully you guys can hear everything well. If not, definitely let me know. But this is a game that was developed by Square Enix. It was released in 1998 in March in Japan, and a little bit later in the year in America. It's made by Square Enix, Squaresoft at the time. Yeah, it's a Grim. Welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah, this time my mic's not muted. But Squaresoft at the time, or Square Enix, whatever you know them by, obviously is the very successful Final Fantasy franchise creators and whatnot. So at this time period, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Dino Crisis, games like that were coming out, and this was basically Square Enix's attempt at trying to fight for that space, you know, trying to acquire a little bit of it. And what they ended up with was an odd result. This game is not exactly survival horror like they had initially intended. You can feel so much of like the Final Fantasy roots in the game. So it's really incredible. It's super unique. And the brilliance behind it is it's so unique and it was so weirdly made that even the other games in the franchise are entirely different. And that's really awesome, at least as far as like what interested me in speedrunning. Thank you, Hisagrim. Appreciate it. So right here, we're just going to mash through some text. And then we're going to equip the club, and I'll explain why we're equipping the club here in a second. So we equip the club because it does just as much damage as the gun that we start off with, but the ATB is significantly faster, and it obviously doesn't use ammunition. So you're going to see me use that until we get a better gun a little bit later on, about 14-15 minutes in. This game has really awesome cutscenes. If you've never seen the game run before, if you've never even played it casually, like I really would suggest you like just take a minute to check out the speedrun or check out the cutscenes, because even though it's a speedrun, you can't skip any of the cutscenes. You got to mash text, so you're forced to watch a lot of it, and it really makes you appreciate just like how cool it is. It's very dark for the time period. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty sweet. No spoilers, but this cutscene gets pretty lit. Pun intended. Yeah, it is a lot like FF8 models. Not quite to that level of like smoothness, I guess you could say, but definitely leagues above Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII was very Lego-ish. This is closer to like Final Fantasy VIII in that they're less square all over. The plot heats up quick. Yeah, this is 3 minutes of unskippable cutscene. It's pretty cool. Square Enix has a thing with opera scenes. Final Fantasy IX, this game, they all have really wild opera scenes. And it gets popping off real quick, man. This game, it almost like, if you don't know that it's made by Square, you almost can't tell until you see like some of the animation, some of the art is very you know, Genova looking. Like you can see that some of their art styles and whatnot definitely get pulled from some of those other games, and you can kind of appreciate it in that sense, especially if you've played any of the other games. Is Parasite Eve a mixtape because it gets lit? No, but the soundtrack is fire in every sense of the meaning. It's really awesome. A lot of the soundtrack's actually stuff they pulled straight from the movie, or had the composer who did the movie, which is I believe it was Yoko, was able to transplant some of the music into this game. So it actually has music that's almost better than the actual gameplay itself, which is wild. But yeah, you know, Parasite Eve, you know Eve, she steps up on stage, she starts spitting that heat. She drops it so hot that literally everyone is combusting. Yeah, this is definitely not as bad as FF9's opera scene, as far as like the nerves it gives you. But right now we're starting it off. So this is we're gonna come up across the what I like to call the first boss in the game, and it's gonna be this chair at the very end of the row. You can get stuck on it super easy, and we dodged it. GG. That's gonna be it. Good start. Good start. Thank you, Swoogie. Appreciate you. But here we're gonna mash through some text. Now, right off the bat, the very first fight in the game is incredibly dictated by RNG. This fight can either end in 4, 5, or 6 attacks, and each extra attack costs you about 3 seconds or so. And we started off with really a bad ATB, so what we're going to do here is a little trick, where if you get hit by her first laser beam, it actually puts your ATB slightly ahead of hers because of the animation lag. So it makes it to where you won't have to see the last laser beam if you do in fact get a 6-hit fight. Oh, and I don't think we're going to get it. I think it was too even. So what you want to see here is at least 2 10s, and we didn't get it. So we're probably going to have to get the bad animation. Yeah, and we did. So right there, you never want to see that animation come out for no reason. It costs you just a few seconds for absolutely nothing. And I took damage because I was lazy, but it's okay. But that fight can end in 4 hits if you get 10 crits in a row, or 4 crits of 10 in a row. And I've only ever seen that happen once in like, multiple hundred attempts. 5 hit is pretty common to get 2 critical hits out of the 5. And the 6 hit, which we just got, is pretty bad. And to get the slow 6 hit, which we just got, is even worse. So far we're off to a rousing start. So you're going to follow her. The stranger who just murdered everyone, you're just going to jump into this hole in heels. Not a care in the world, just doing some quality police work. Hopefully you don't hear me mashing too loudly. It is a game that you have to be mashing pretty much 100% of the time. So I apologize in advance for that. And similar to a lot of the other Square games, especially of this time period, the tutorial is like after you've already done stuff. So they give you the tutorial and like the information and whatnot like after the first leg of the game, which is crazy because the day 1 is actually probably one of the more risky days, especially in the speedrun. Oh yeah. So one thing about this game is you'll notice that her running speed is just atrocious. And it's crazy because it's one of the games like Final Fantasy VII where you have to be holding circle to run unless you're using analog. But the weird thing about it is you can't use analog and D-pad at the same time. You have to either have one on or the other. And because D-pad is so much easier to use for actual menuing, most of the runners do in fact use D-pad or prefer to. There's very few screens that are easier with analog sticks because the game wasn't necessarily designed for it. So I don't use it. And it makes running it on PSP a lot easier since you don't have to rely on. Oh, and we got a 1-hit rat fight, so that's pretty good. That rat can die in either 1 or 2 attacks. So we made up for the Eve 6-hit almost. But you'll see that I move in very straight lines just because it's, D-pad movement and you're kind of limited to not a whole lot of directions. Never seen this game before, it caught me off guard. Man, that's the beauty in this game. If it does anything, it'll catch you off guard. That's its thing. That's all it's got. Oh, and we got a first frame book read. That's some next level strats right there. But right here we mash through some stuff. And a lot of the text in this game, you'll see that it's displayed in whole windows at a time. But a lot of it is tied to actual animations. So there's a limit to how fast you can mash through some sections of the game. And then some sections are completely uncapped. So you'll see the difference in mashing speeds throughout the entirety of the run. Now if you just mash as fast as you can, always, it doesn't really matter. But it's just something that's funny to notice. Because sometimes you can be mashing and you'll force the animations to speed up. so they start moving their arms and walking in certain directions a lot faster than they're used to, and it looks kind of goofy. Definitely wasn't part of the initial design. So right here is definitely one of the biggest troublemakers as far as the speedrun goes, and especially being so early on. You can lose or gain anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds just based on how this fight goes, based on how you play it, based on how lucky you get. There's a lot of luck involved, and it's kind of dangerous, so I'm actually going to probably do some safety heals here just to ensure that I don't have to reset. Playing it risky. Ooh, I'm way too close. So another thing that I should mention, because it's very important... that was stupid of me. It's very important in how the game plays is contact damage. If you bump into a target, you'll actually take damage and get sent back a little bit, which will cause you to kind of be in like this little... be in a little bit of stun. And you never want to see that, because obviously you lose time and you run the risk of getting hit by something. But there are a few times where we actually use that to our advantage, and that's a little bit later on, and I'll explain that, but it's important to know. So right here, you just want to wait for her lasers to come out. You just want to hit her when you can. Usually you get 2 attacks off to her every 1, but sometimes she moves a lot faster than she does other times. And you just don't want to get swatted, because she'll swat you for a lot of your health. So I played that fight really, really slow, and it's okay. You can die in 2 swats, which can happen very, very quickly in succession if you don't do the heads up thing, which is to heal. Most of my runs die there because I'm just, obviously YOLOing it and hoping I can get it as fast as I can. Because there's not a whole lot of time save that is within, like, that you have control of, and so a lot of day 1 resets is pretty much all my stream is filled with. And that's because, like, if I'm going to make up the time, I might as well do it when I know that I can control it, as opposed to like when RNG is going to dictate it a lot of day 1 resets is pretty much all my stream. Right here we're in a pretty decent shape considering health. We're going to fight 3 rats, and their movement is pretty much fixed. Like they very rarely do anything strange. And if you stand far enough away from them, you'll bait out the fireballs, which you want to see because they're easy to dodge and they're slow. And then you'll see me end every screen as close to the next screen as I can, just to save a little bit of time, because she moves so much faster when she's battling than when she is just casually strolling from screen to screen. The frogs are a little bit finicky. You can't really trust them. The frogs have an enormous hitbox to one side of them. When they shoot their tongue out, to the frog's right, the hitbox is almost like a shape of a fan. Like, it's very huge. And the size to the left, like, you almost don't even get hit by it. It's really, really weird, but once you get used to it, you can almost always dodge their attacks if you just know how to move. So it's not too difficult. Sometimes they can give you a little bit of trouble, but ultimately, it's not too big a deal if you just kind of pay attention to what they're doing. So right here is a huge example of just how lucky you can get and save so much time early on. It's definitely not required. And we got it. Wow. All right, cool. So there you can get either the offense 2 or the offense 1 out of that box. Getting the offense 2 saves you about 10 to 13 seconds, depending on your load times, for having to run into the next room. So that was actually really fortunate. I don't see that very often, so you guys that was cool. And then right here is another example. If you can kill each frog in 3 attacks by critting twice, then you can, that's bad. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. So because I was afraid of taking too much damage, I moved too far away. And you saw a good example of what it looks like when you stand too far away and your accuracy drops off the face of the earth. So that fight was ugly, but I just wanted to be better safe than sorry. Oops. But that frog fight, if you kill them both in 1 turn apiece, you actually save an immense amount of time because you don't have to menu afterwards, and obviously they die faster. So that saves another 10 to 13 seconds. I would say depending on how fast you do the fight in general and input everything. It's huge time save. So if you get the offense too and that fast fight, you're saving a crazy amount of time that most people probably don't get. And then the end of day one is pretty much dictated by this guy right here, the gatekeeper, I call him, the alligator. He is a weird guy. He does a lot of weird stuff that isn't always super consistent. Now there's a pretty decent strategy in how to deal with him, but if you screw up the timing just a little bit on the very first position that you make as soon as the fight starts, the whole fight just completely goes out the window, and it's just a free-for-all. And he can, in the second phase, punch you in the face or decide to fire laser beams. And one is way easier to dodge, it does less damage than the other, and is much slower. So sometimes he just decides to screw you up a little bit, which is why I'm probably going to heal if I take any kind of damage, because he is capable of bursting you down real easy. So that was good. Right here is the only fight in the game we don't want to see crits, because critical hits will actually throw off your reload count and lose you a lot of time. Ooh, he went from the other side. So that was a pretty good fight. That was as good as you want it to go, just based on his movement, the attacks he used, and my critical hits. So that was really good. There's actually 2 games in the series. The Turd Birthday does not count, and if anybody says otherwise, then they just don't understand the game. Parasite Eve 1 and Parasite Eve 2 were released within a year ago, or sorry, within a year of each other. One is significantly better than the other, in my opinion. Parasite Eve 1 is a very RPG-ish, where Parasite Eve 2 is very Resident Evil survival horror. And then the Turd Birthday is just like a third-person shooter. It's really weird. We've pretty much abandoned it. It's like the redheaded stepchild situation of the franchise. We just pretend it doesn't exist. It went straight to PSP. So you can already imagine, like, when things get released straight to PSP, you just can't take them seriously. You can go ahead and at me on that. Yeah, in the Turd Birthday, you actually do get more naked the more damage you take. And that's really, like, even if you count that, the only win that game gets, honestly. I mean, it's really pretty, but it just makes no sense. But I'm not going to lie, that day one was actually pretty clean. I mean, I played it safe and did a little bit of the slower strats, but all in all, the fights went a pretty good way. Especially the alligator, you really want to see it happen like that, and the offense too is nice. Yeah, it is. Straight to PSP is the straight to DVD of the video game world. Like, I would wager that, like, a Disney Channel original movie that they only play on the Disney Channel is still better than going direct to DVD. But yeah, this is that's the end of day one. A little bit of cutscenes. Really, for marathon purposes, that's the only place I'm super afraid of dying and losing the run, is in that first chunk, because the fights are not always the same, especially the alligator. He can be kind of weird, but we'll pick up some revives to make the rest of the game a lot safer. So it becomes, pretty calm from this point out until the very last few scenes of the game, and that's when, like, all safety is just completely abandoned. I've been running this game for, man, it's hard to say. I think since March or February, something like that. But this game, luckily, when I started running it, a guy named Primus, incredible runner, he has speedrun notes for the game, which were just immaculate, and they still are. They're updated, they're amazing. He has, like, everything, absolutely down to the single movement inputs put out in those notes. He's got all kinds of safety strats, backup strats, everything. So if you are interested in running the game, go check them out. The notes are incredible. And fortunately for me, Primus came up with those, which were a revision of notes Turbo Dog came up with. Pewexel and Turbo Dog Warbirth, they all did like a super, super good job of routing the game and ironing it out. So that when I picked it up, it was pretty much refined. So all I had to do was figure it out, figure out the run. So shout outs to all those guys. They did an incredible job. Primus took what was the old route, which was a really good route that, you know, basically was the first official route of the speedrun. And he kind of ironed it out and shaved a few more minutes off of it. And since I started running it, we figured out like really, really small things like how to appropriately use BP and minor time saves in a couple fights. But ultimately, shout outs to all those guys for godfathering the game so that when I picked it up, it was pretty much in its most simple form. But yeah, this is actually a run on PSP. So PSP is the fastest way to run the game by a significant margin, just in load times, comparative to everything else. PSTV, I believe, is similar in speed-wise. I hope Primus does do some more runs, man. We've all kind of taken, like, I run Parasite Eve in marathons, but I've taken a few breaks from it for a little while, just because it's, I was getting real worn out, just with the amount of runs I was doing to beat a time that was, like, the only way to beat my current time was for me to play similarly and get, like, really, really great RNG. So, you know, I just kind of took a break from it. I run it in marathons because it's an awesome game and more people need to see it. And I'm trying to get more runners to run the game every single day. If anybody ever hits me up, I always suggest it to them. Yeah, so the ice bullets is a strategy I came up with. And the only reason it's possible is because Primus came up with the backup strat for the M10, which I kind of used in conjunction with the micro Uzi and everything. So yeah, we've actually got a couple of minor things that save a decent amount of time. I believe the current world record run has ice bullets in it. One of the most awful sounding things you can ever hear. And you have to hear it on every bullet shot. It's hilarious. Day 5 is just is awesome. If we get ice bullets, I'll be super stoked. I've not gotten ice bullets in a marathon, I don't believe. Not yet. Since that strat has come to be. But before I started running this game, people were resetting about halfway in, and obviously, like, that's not conducive to a marathon. I know that Pewexel and TurboDog ran it in actually RPG Limit Break, and they did a safety save. But as far as like doing RTA, like solid runs, you know, it wasn't really helpful that you'd have to do that. So Primus came out with a super awesome strategy that really is very close to what we were already doing as far as time in the end of the game, to make it to where we don't have to reset anymore. So as far as like new runners and interesting people in the game and being marathon safe and such, that really did open a lot of the doors for all those things to happen. And based on that strategy, I was able to make the ice bullet strategy that I use now, because we've resorted to using a different gun at the end of the game than we used to. So the game still has like minor optimizations in it. I found out there's a huge chunk of time that you can save in the worms that's just super hard to execute. I know that there's, you know, ways to kind of get invincibility frames in certain fights and things like that. So there's definitely time left on the table. How much, I'm not really sure. I think a 254 is probably possible. But I don't know exactly what it would take or where the time save would be. So here's the world map. That is the whole world map. That's exactly what New York City looks like. I don't know if anybody's ever been there, but you can go ahead and debate me on that. We don't have a whole lot of places that would become available to us on the map, and even fewer that we actually utilize in the speedrun. But one interesting thing is that the in-game timer doesn't tick during the map screen. So it acts almost as if it's like some giant loading screen for some reason. I'm always going to try the 121 strat on worms, and I'm always going to fail it. So we'll definitely go ahead and give it an attempt. The 121 worm strat, I don't think anybody's actually ever done in a real run. Like, I was able to do it in practice pretty consistently, but like when it comes down to it, it's a super hard strategy that requires insane good luck, and that's pretty much it. So it's pretty difficult to get, especially in a marathon setting. But we're gonna try it just for the lulz. Okay, so background guy has already confirmed that this looks exactly like New York City. So already Square is out to just like, you know, incredible skill levels, making a carbon copy of the actual New York City for you to run around in what is mostly an open world. If an open world was just riddled with loads and restrictions and things like that. Think of Vice City if you couldn't use the tank to just jump over all the barriers. That's pretty much the map in this game. New York City to scale 100%. Oh man. So this guy right here, Professor Clamp, he's a doctor of sorts. You can tell by that haircut and the fact that he's looking at a flickering TV screen that he's an antagonist. I mean, you just can't trust somebody who looks at something like that all day, right? Like, if I ever walked into an office and there was a guy working on a screen of that quality that was constantly just flicking on and off, losing, oh man, just look at it. That's a serial killer right there, guaranteed. And for some reason, the book on his desk has just like this weird velvet texturing that sticks out like so, I don't know why, maybe it's just me. But it sticks out very, very, it catches your eye. Like everything in the room is very bland, very grayscale, very black and white. But the book cover on his desk next to him is just like gleaming, like it's the feathers of a phoenix or something. It's wild. It's like the only thing with like 3D texture and like, you know, vivid color in the whole scene. And if you notice, when Daniel's driving, he does drive at warp speed. This scene is one where it's very easy to notice. Just look how fast he's going, dude. This is some Back to the Future stuff right here. And then, as if he wasn't already going fast enough, he just reaches down and upshifts as if he's got more speed. That's what the police are hiding from y'all, for real. You think you can outrun them one of these days with a serious speeding ticket? Nah. Yeah, not only is he driving warp speed, but he is absolutely not caring about any kind of pedestrians that might be on the road or any kind of traffic that might exist. And I'm not a New York City expert, but I believe there's probably some amount of traffic. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the whole game because the background is just so weird. To the far left, it looks like one of those rugs that have all the roads on it that kids play on. And like on the actual chalkboard itself, you got like a completely empty graph, like a picture of some chick, and the map of what looks like Grand Theft Auto's Vice City. And then you just got a bunch of circles with lines through it on the left side of the chalkboard. It's the weirdest chalkboard layout ever. Like, I know that that doesn't help them solve anything. Absolutely not. So right here, I'm going to go through this menu pretty slowly. And the reason for that is because if you screw it up, the whole run is over. Okay, cool. So I wanted to make sure that that didn't get gypped. You're going to see me do any of the menus that involve using or transforming guns into other guns. You're going to see me do them very slowly because we use all the guns that we pick up in this game, and we use them for specific reasons. So if you happen to put the wrong stats from one gun to another, you can really punish yourself. And the reason being is that when you use a tool to rip stats off of a gun to put onto another one, it trashes the gun that you pulled those stats from. So if you accidentally, your main gun, you you pull the stats from it and put it on a worse gun, all of a sudden your main gun is trashed. You got to reset the run. There was one marathon where I screwed it up and I had to go through the rest of it with a completely foreign strategy, and nobody picked up on it. They just thought it was the game was supposed to be played like this, but it was ugly. Fortunately, it didn't last too long because I was able to get the micro Uzi a little later on, but it works. And one of the coolest aspects of this game is just how like all the backgrounds are super rendered, super like grayscale, and then you got these characters that just stick out so hard. They're hilarious. Like that looks like if you took these characters out of it, like that would be a decent desktop wallpaper. You know what I mean? But then you got these two bozos in it. I mean, Aya's legs are 80% of her body. Makes no sense. But here we go into the Central Park. Now, Central Park is a lot of people don't like it. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole game, just because like the fights are pretty consistent, pretty telegraphed. Right here, you're gonna get an introduction to my ex-wife. It's her first appearance in the game. And this fight almost always goes the exact same way. Same could be said for all the other fights in the game in Central Park. And I really like that about it. So that if you play it optimally, you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna get through it pretty consistently. At least within reason. There's a couple of things that can catch you off guard, but ultimately it's pretty static. The 80s humor. So right here, the two birds. Birds in every game, every RPG I've ever played are like some of the most annoying enemies to deal with. And in this game, they're no different. One of the things being that they can stun lock you, they can bump into you a lot, and that they drop literal junk. Literal junk. Like you have to literally remove it from your inventory if you pick it up, because it's exactly what it says it is. It's junk. Now in the casual playthrough, I believe there's use to the junk outside of just trashing it. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I don't know what the hell that was. So right here is one of the first implement. Oh, thank goodness. So right there we can get either a tool or ammo from that chest, and luckily we got the tool. If we get the ammo, we actually lose about 30 seconds for having to go fetch the other one. Copyright time. Yeah, I don't know. That must be like my follow notification or something, but it's not my main one. So as soon as I get to a load screen, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my. I'm pretty sure my Twitch alerts were already off. So right here, this guy can be a super big nuisance. You're going to want to just keep your distance from him and force him into the boomerang attack, which is that one right there. And then you want to make sure that you reload to 0 bullets after that fight. And the reason for that is that the snake in this next room is if you get hit by the snakes, you're in rough shape. Their poison does a lot of tick, especially at these low levels when you don't have a whole lot of HP to spare. And if you get caught in your reload animation, he will definitely hit you based on how he moves every single time you fight him. In birds, you want to leave alive because you can kind of dictate their movement a little bit, kind of force them to move certain ways so that you can kind of get closer to the screen, or the end of the screen. Right here, the birds didn't want to help me out at all, so we didn't get to end as far up as I'd like to, but it's okay. So here we're going to just run past this dead guy. It means nothing to us. We don't even talk to him. We don't even check to see if he's okay. He's just laying over there to the left. Forget about it. It's not important. What is important is ensuring that we make it to this concert in time. Only Use Me Kipo, what's going on, guys? Shout out to Only Use Me Kipo. That's my roommate who has to, when I do these marathons, ensure that my child doesn't wake up, and if she does, that he has to get her back to bed. So, the real MVP for this, I must say. Dude, there's not room in your inventory for anything. One of the things about this game that's super odd is how limited the inventory space is. You only get a certain amount of inventory space. Very, very basic. It doesn't expand based on anything. It doesn't. The only way for you to get more inventory space is for you to use your actual bonus points to acquire inventory space. So you can either make your ATB faster, you can either do more damage, or you can hold more junk. Like, that's pretty much what it comes down to. Which is super, super not cool for them to do it like that. But you know what? It is what it is. You're going to see me stutter step like that a lot. That's just a product of me mashing at the same time as me trying to hold circle to run. That's what happens in this game. You hit X while you're holding circle to run, and you'll just kind of do that little dash right there. So right here we go say what's up to Eve. Ask her why she's melting people. Not a big deal. Now, if anybody's familiar with this reference, one of my viewers once told me this, and I haven't been able to see her any differently ever since. But he says that Eve, in her current form, like right now in the game, looks like the Cynthia doll from Rugrats. I don't know if anybody in here is an avid Rugrats viewer, but if you know who Cynthia is, wait till we see Eve next, and I want you to put your opinion in on it, whether or not you think she looks like Cynthia. I think she looks just like her. It kills me. Every time I see her, I chuckle a little bit. Rugrats hasn't been the same since for me. So right here is one of the few screens that if you actually had analog movement, it might save you a little bit of trouble. But I've gotten so used to how to do it with D-pad that I tried using analog once, and it completely screwed me up. So it's definitely doable. Don't think that you have to have a PS2 with an analog controller or anything like that in order to run the game. Because we all use D-pad, or I think most of us. And it doesn't slow me down any. But right here is where we would take our 30-minute detour, or 30-second detour to go get the tool if we failed to get it a little bit earlier. And we got the ammunitions that thankfully, that's not the case. I actually reset if I don't get that. If I don't get that tool from that chest. So this fight is actually quite a dangerous one, and I'm probably going to drop a safety heal just to be sure, because the birds can team up on you and follow you around, as you see here. And when they do that, it makes it super, super hard to get out of the way because there's so many of them. You can't necessarily run around them. And they do a good amount of stunning, which you never want to have to see. They stun like the living life out of you, man, and it's just awful. And then, usually, they'll drop 4 junk, so that's disadvantageous. Yep, there it is, 4 junk, so really, really quality stuff. And right there, I reloaded my gun to 2. You can either go up to 2 or down to 4. It's completely up to you. But what happens is, because my gun fires 2 bullets at a time, you want your bullets to obviously be firing 2 at a time. So if I'm on 3, I fire 2, and then I go to fire another 2. She's going to reload in between those 2 shots that I was going to try to fire. And that can be super, super deadly, especially against enemies like snakes. Snakes have... Oh, that was close. Snakes have a really, really strange attack range. Like, it goes very, very far for some reason. And as you can see here, this polar bear, he shoots lightning. There's no real rhyme or reason to why the lightning does the things it does, or why he's even capable of shooting it. But I have absolutely no idea the most optimal way to dodge it. you just kind of run and hope it doesn't hit you. It's kind of a few of the strategies in this game that you gotta adapt, improvise, adapt, overcome. So here we have two more little boomerang dudes, and they usually will die in 2 hits if you get a crit on at least one of the hits. And you never want to see them chase you like that because it's super hard to dodge them. They move pretty quickly, and the boomerang is so easy to get out of the way of. Yeah, it's a polar bear, right? Now, I've never been to the New York City Zoo. I don't know what their polar bear game is like, what their exhibit quality is, but that polar bear looked rough, right? Like, he looked like he was probably dead and buried on the premises and then resuscitated through the mitochondria power. Because he's like all patchy looking, he's got like pieces of skin exposed, and then he's firing lightning. So like there's not a whole lot of understanding that I have for what goes on at the New York City Zoo. So here we want to kill this bush with arms first, because it does a couple of attacks that are annoying, and it's better to take it out. Usually it dies in 1 round, and then you can just fire 1 bullet apiece at these birds to try to kill them on the same turn. And if you don't, oh well, you just fire 1 apiece again, and you don't lose anything. So there's definitely that's definitely the best way to go about that fight, and not pick up junk. And I picked it up anyways. So I want to get rid of all the bullets in my gun, get rid of all the junk, pop a heal, pop 2, and go to Worms. Now, Worms is probably one of the most memorable fights of the game if you've ever seen it or played casually. Let's see if I can do the 121 strat. Ooh, I can. Okay, we're going to try it and see how it goes. Okay, we're off to a good start. So because of the... this fight works in a weird fashion. Based on the first worm that you attack, it dictates the movement of the rest of the worms for the remainder of the fight, which is very odd because we used to think it was just random. But it's not. It's got some kind of weird qualities about it. Now, so far, this is going exactly how we need it to. I'm going to take probably a little bit of damage here, and that's expected. I needed to get that attack off at a certain time. So the reason I call this the 121 strat is because if you do it properly, you will get the same exact finish time every single time, and that's because of the movement pattern of the worms. Now, if you screw it up, you actually will lose time compared to if you just would have done the regular strat. But so far, it's more about just seeing if I can do it. Oh, and I'm not going to get the chance. What do I do here? I might die. We're going to try it. Oh, I'm dead. Holy crap. That was insanely lucky, guys. I almost lost the run because I was greedy. So we're going to go ahead and try to stay away from that. I know I have a revive, and that would have just procced. But I was really trying to be a man right there. I had the Mulan soundtrack, you know, in my mind. Must be swift as the coursing river. You know what I'm saying? So and it just didn't pan out. Granted, I did have the revive, so it would have been straight. Yeah, we'll call that clutch. We'll call it clutch. It was more just I don't exactly know what happened, but I'll take it. You know what I mean? You take the wins where you can get them in Parasite Eve. So now that the strategy is pretty much dead, those were the correct lyrics. All right. I will fight you on this. I will. No, I'm not a great singer. I don't claim to be. But the Mulan soundtrack, I don't think there's a single soul in the world that doesn't enjoy it. But anyways, so to explain the strategy of the worms a little bit better, ultimately what happens is, oh goodness. What happens is that the worms will, when one of them dies, another one gets stronger, gets more health. And you obviously take longer to kill it. So what you want to do is kill as many as you can with on the same turn. So the 121 strat, what it does is it lets you kill 3 of them on the exact same turn so that you don't sacrifice any of them getting any bigger. Whereas the casual strategy, or the original strategy that we did, killed 2 on a single turn. So you had to lose about 30 to 40 seconds on that alone. And that's why the 121 strat is so nice, but as you can see, it's so easy to screw up. You just get mistimed. That reload cost me a little bit. And I should have realized that was going to happen. Now, we actually made it to this fight just fine. We kept our revive. We had the exact amount of medicine we needed to be full health in this fight. So all things are completely fine. We're just going to... Had I not mentioned that that was almost a disaster, y'all would have just thought it was the regular thing. For everyone complaining about having that song stuck in their head, you are welcome. There was far worse music to have stuck in your head. The beautiful, soul-touching lyrics of Donny Osmond. Let's not act like you haven't listened to worse music just today. Come on now. So this fight is really strange. You can either do it really quickly or really slow. We're going to try to get the fast fight, but I don't think we will here. Oh, we did. Okay, so what she can do, she has 2 attacks at her disposal. One is to swing at you like that. The other is to fly up and drop an attack from above. And when she does that, it obviously takes... that's the attack right there. It takes a considerable amount of time for her to do that and come back down. But it's much safer because of how easy it is to dodge. So getting swatted, actually you take a ton of damage. And you run the risk of dying. Dude, isn't it Cynthia from Rugrats? Thank you. Thank you, guys. Just Google what? He's right. I'm sorry. What was I? Oh, hexadecimal? I don't know what hexadecimal is besides like the actual like the coding language. But she looks like Cynthia, bro. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but once you see the Cynthia, like I just can't watch Rugrat with my kid anymore. I'm like, nah, man, you don't understand. Gets to me. Yeah, and you know what? That's so funny that you say that. Because Cynthia looks like trailer trash. I mean, pardon my phrasing. Hopefully that is not too offensive of a term for me to use. She looks like real beat up. Coding language, nice try. Yeah, I'm sorry. She looks like Cynthia's like missing hair. She's got like her face is beat up. She's got like ratty clothes. I must have not seen Hex from Reboot, so I'll definitely give it a look. You might be totally right. I don't speak on things I don't know, which is why I'm not going to talk about the storyline of this game very much, because I've ignored most of it. But as a counterpoint, I would like to mention that Daniel is the father of the year. Daniel here is your police partner. He's gangsta. He is the most gangsta. Probably one of the most gangsta characters in any video game ever. And his son, he just lets his son walk around in Hugh Hefner style robes, all red. I mean, he's like an 8-year-old kid, and he's letting him walk around the streets of New York City dressed in all red, in shorts, in the middle of the snow. So, you know, obviously, you know, he's real big on his child's creative freedom, and we got to respect that. But here in a second, I'll explain a little bit of the story up until this point. The issue is that the story gets explained in pretty significant chunks, like large chunks at a time, rather than like casual, you know, just a little bit here as a like it has big reveals rather than giving you a little bit of information at a time as the game progresses. You find out little tiny bits that actually don't answer any kind of questions. And then you find out like all kinds of answers all at once, a handful of different times throughout the entirety of the game. So up until this point, we figured out that obviously in the theater, there was some fire. This singer was catching people on fire. She started levitating. Everybody bursts into flames except for Aya and her date, which I would like to add is very, very odd. That just because he was sitting near her, he didn't catch flames, but it's beside the point. He didn't catch flames, she didn't catch flames, and immediately you know, okay, she's got some kind of immunity to it. So she chases her down, she gives her a couple little spiels, little speeches about how she is able to summon forth the power of mitochondria from the cells of living beings around her. And when mitochondria put out significant amounts of energy, that's what creates that heat, that fire, the melting, things like that, and transforming of the mutated animals and things like that. It is, once again, the summoning of the power from mitochondria. And she can use it to basically like transmutate, kind of like disappear and then reappear places by turning into like an amorphous blob and then floating through stuff. It's pretty wild. He was wearing his asbestos undies. Oh man. So it's probably worth noting that he might be entitled to compensation. But the reason I bring up the story up into this point is because this guy right here in the blue jacket, his name is Maida, or whatever you want to call him, plays a significant part in the story. So this, ultimately the game was based off of a novel that was turned into a movie in Japan, and it was kind of a spin-off. You can watch that movie on YouTube in the exact same quality you're watching this game right now. Parasite Eve. It's in Japanese, so you're going to have to read the subtitles, but it's worth a watch if you've played the game or know anything about the story. I thought it was awesome. But basically, this woman dies in Japan, and her husband was, just stricken with grief, very, very upset. So he's a biochemist, and he cultures some liver cells and creates this mutated genetic, basically mitochondria mutation is the result of this project. And it basically does what Eve is doing in this game, which is, culminates into this human and just wreaks havoc all over. So after that has been dealt with, this guy in the blue jacket, Maida, he comes from Japan to America to ensure that like people in America aren't facing a similar trouble, which, surprise, surprise, Christmas of '97 in New York City, the exact same thing's going down. So Maida comes to your aid to give you a little bit of information on what's going on, having previously dealt with it. And that's kind of where we're at as of right now. We don't know a whole lot more. And Maida obviously is renting out this very, very luxurious, very standard New York City apartment, complete with dumpster fire and flickering television. This can be yours for the very, very reasonable New York City price of $3,000 a month. And then, yeah, Maida has this... Maida, throughout the story, will give you story key items, right? But unfortunately, you keep key items in the same inventory that you keep regular items. So every time Maida gives you something, he's like, here's a gift. Here's something that will help you on your journey. And she's like, oh my god, thank you so much. And in actuality, it just makes us all upset, because that's one less inventory space. The only way to get rid of the items that Maida gives you is to go put them in the locker in the police station. But we actually don't go to the police station in the route, except for one time after we've received the Midas charm. Man, all of a sudden we got some New York City real estate experts in here. 3,000 is cheap, my lord. See, I live in Texas, where we have affordable things, like guns. So I'm sorry if I undersold this quality space here. But that is the end of day 2. For anybody who's not familiar with the game, there is 6 days. So far we are through a quarter of them. I'm sorry, a third of them. I went to school in America. My math is not great. But the dumpster fire has been extinguished. For some reason, the back wall looks entirely different, just from the light of day. We pick up bullets, even though Maida doesn't have a gun, doesn't even know how to shoot one. Yeah, maybe there's a correlation between the legalization of guns and why our properties are so cheap. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. You rob people for housing. No, I mean, I don't personally. I cannot confirm nor deny that those things might go on. I mean, it is Texas, crazy. We have Whataburger, so crazy stuff happens. Why did we move to Texas? Just eat your guns, honey. Oh man, that kills me, dude. That might be the funniest thing I've ever seen. Oh my goodness. Now, I don't tell a lot of Texans this because I am Texan myself, but I actually prefer In-N-Out since they have removed themselves. Their headquarters has been moved from LA to California to Dallas. So we have In-N-Outs all over the place now, and I actually prefer In-N-Out to Whataburger. But if you say that around here, man, dude, somebody and their cousin is going to beat you within an inch of your life, I swear. They take it super seriously. Right here, we robbed the gun store a little bit. Your Whataburger's not bad. I just think In-N-Out's better. I mean, that's really it. So I'm gonna do this really slowly. Yeah, because I almost butchered it. M84F, M11. Okay, so what I just did right there plays a pretty huge part in the rest of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and explain it to you guys. The putting the rate of fire 2 on the M11 on any SMG gives it this unique ability where it will, from then on, random target. So you can't choose your targets anymore, but it will fire an extra bullet very frequently. Very frequently, it'll fire 3 bullets instead of 2. And the important thing is that third bullet is not reduced in damage or anything like that. So standard rate of fire adjustments for every additional rate of fire, so 2, 3, 4, things like that, you actually get your bullets start doing a lower percentage of damage to make up for that rate of fire. Well, this third extra bullet that is fired randomly on the SMG when it has rate of fire 2 does not actually abide by those rules, which makes it very worthwhile, and we just deal with the random targeting because it's not too gutting if you just position yourself properly. Okay, now I'm seeing some crazy stuff in chat, right? Now let's get this straight. Five Guys, In-N-Out, and Whataburger, they can't be compared to each other. It's a completely different cost level. Like, Five Guys is not fast food. Five Guys is like what Chipotle is. You know what you mean? You pay extra, you go in, you sit down, you have a good meal. In-N-Out and Whataburger are a completely different price bracket. You can't compare them. So right here we have a significant amount of mashing we do. Yeah, Five Guys is not fast food. And I would wager that Five Guys is not nearly as good as Smashburger, which are much more similar than Five Guys and In-N-Out. Yeah, Five Guys it just tastes like nothing. It's like Freddy's. There's just nothing there. You're just eating stuff. There's not any substance to it. It's just stuff. Yo, In-N-Out. Oh man. Smashburger is on some next level business, right? All right, guys. I don't know what Five Guys you're going to. But the Five Guys here in Texas, they're obviously not gun-toting, neckbeard-having Five Guys, right? They're not Texan Five Guys. They're very average Five Guys. At least all the ones that I've been to. Yo, I think what's important to notice is that Pin Digley is 100% correct, and that the fact that we can even have this conversation because Texas is so cultured in its fast food and burger chains is just top-notch. Oh, Culver's. Don't even get me started. I go hard on Culver's. Oh man, and Culver's, they make their own root beer, similar to Oh, you know what? Twisted Root. We have Twisted Root in Texas. If any of you guys have the chance to go to Twisted Root, go. I don't even know why we're having this conversation. I completely forgot that Twisted Root exists. You can't even hold a candle to it. It's the best burger joint there is. Yo, do you see this chat, Dylan? All right, now let's not act like Steak and Shake is Steak and Shake is Steak and Shake is the McDonald's of the more expensive burger bracket. Like, come on now. Oh, I guess I should mention what's going on in Parasite Eve. So right now, Maida is revealing to us just exactly how the cells work and the mitochondrial mutation and their attack on the cells. And he compared his cells, which you just saw a second ago while you were talking about incredible burger joints. You saw his cells be attacked and succumb to the virus. Now, whereas this cell that he just showed you is a cell of Ius, and you can see that it is completely repelling the attacks from the mitochondria. Now that we've gotten that squared away, we're going to go ahead and release a straw poll after this, where we can all vote and make our opinions heard on this burger fiasco. Nash, what's going on, man? It's good to see you. Primus, welcome to a Parasite Eve stream, my buddy. For some reason, this is completely derailed, and I love it. Another funny thing is, they literally break into this guy's office. When he returns to his own office, they just turn around and pull guns on him. And he's like, what the crap? They're like, what are you doing here? He's like, dude, I work here. Like, can you put the guns away now? What's going on? Yeah, this is a change the game title. This is a IRL burger stream discussion and nothing else. This is probably the highest quality Parasite Eve content I've ever dealt with. Heart Attack Burger? No, I've been to Twin Peaks where they have something similar to a Heart Attack Burger. It's got like an egg and bacon and all that stuff on it. Yo, I love eggs on my burger. Don't get me wrong. That goes super hard. Granted, I have to deal with like multiple days of shame after having eaten one. It goes hard. So right here, let's see if we get the clamp skip. No, sir. So actually, that's like the only skip in the whole game that you can get. Is it saves 1 second, and if you mash at a certain speed, nobody really knows what the speed is. You will skip the animation of the doctor walking over there and turning his computer off. And that's pretty much it. So back to the burgers. I'm going to say Burger King. I'm going to go ahead and veto that. I'm going to go ahead and veto the Burger King. Okay, yeah. So Mystery Blaze, I'm glad you brought it up, right? Now, I know a lot of people that don't like the fries unless they get them, what is it, animal-style fries, which comes with all the stuff on them. I get them plain, and I don't even put salt on them. I really like the starchiness of the fries, and I know that you either love it or you hate it. So I totally understand where you're coming from when you do ask that question. I totally get it. Just a veto, yeah, on Burger King, man. It's bad. Now, for a while, Burger King was one-upping Wendy's with the 5 for $4 deal. Now, I am a lover of value, so I definitely was taking advantage of that, but they quickly stopped it. And I have to imagine it's just because Burger King can't hang. Wendy's, on the other hand, goes pretty hard. The 4 for $4 is still around. It's a good value. It's not great. It's not great for you, but it is cheap. And sometimes that's what matters more, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm sorry, did somebody actually ask a Parasite Eve-based question? Go ahead and ask it again, and I will happily answer it for you. No, right now, the reason that I'm allowing this, or partaking in this discussion up until this point, is because there's nothing but mashing. to be done. So right here, I'll explain some stuff in all seriousness. What happens here is your first example of how the fights work in this game. Basically, if you go through a screen where there's going to be a fight, you're going to get it 100% of the time, as you have seen here. Oh my goodness. Oh wow, that was bad. So what happens is, every time you go back through a screen you've already traveled on, you will have a 50% or a halved chance of getting that fight again. So the second time you go through a screen you've had a fight on, you go from 100% chance to 50%. You go through it again, it drops down to 25, so on and so forth. So a lot of this game and a lot of like the higher up runs can be completely dictated by just how often you get these 50% dice roll fights. And another interesting thing to point out is that you actually need a certain amount of fights by the end of the game to be a certain level, so that we can use liberate in the end of the game. So in an ideal world, oh man, that was stupid of me. So in an ideal world, you want to get all of your encounters towards the end of the game and none at the beginning. Do I have any junk? All right, cool. But in an ideal world, you don't play Parasite Eve, because that is very unlikely to have happen. I'm going to heal there just in case I get this fight again, and I didn't. So right there, we are already 0 for 1 on repeat encounters, which is good. Usually you can make it through the NYPD 0 for 2. There's only 2 repeat encounter chances you have to get. And it's not uncommon that you make it to the NYPD without getting either. And then the hospital, there's quite a few more, and you can, if you get it through the hospital without getting a single repeat encounter, you're a pretty lucky guy, and you're on a really good paced run. So that's just kind of, a rule of measurement, based on the encounters up to this far, whether or not you need to reset, or whether or not I personally would reset. Now, honestly, you can make it to the whole run without having ever reset. But the random encounters work very, very odd in this game. And in the fact that they are semi-fixed, I guess, is a good way to explain it. So when we leave this room to go back to the screen we just came through, we have that 50% chance to get that run. Or that fight again, I'm sorry. So anyways, I don't even want to see McDonald's in the chat. McDonald's does have the McGriddle, which is fire, but for what the McGriddle is, it should not cost that much. Like, let's be honest. I'm going to heal here. Oh, thank goodness. That fight can actually do quite a bit of damage. Actually, I ran a marathon on this past weekend, and I died right there at that repeat encounter. I just wasn't prepared. I was really low health when I started it, so anyways. So right here, we're going to get one of the most important things in the entire game, and that is the vest, the CM vest. And what the CM vest does is get rid of the junk. Is that it? Cool. If you fall below a certain HP threshold, the CM vest will use whatever medicine you have in your inventory to heal you. And I believe that's about 25% HP. So we use things like contact damage and, knowing what fights do what kind of damage to abuse that, so that we have to menu less. We don't have to inventory nearly as much, because we know that our inventory is getting thinned by the vest popping and using the medicines from our inventory. So it's insanely, and it's an insanely quality piece of item that really changes how the entire game is played from a speedrun perspective. It's absolutely necessary. Just had 2 bacon McGriddles today, and yeah, dude, they're too expensive, Nash. I'll tell you that much. I love them, but they're like $5 for that. Like, come on now. Come on, the profit margin on that is massive. It's gotta be. So right here, you want to just run away from these guys. It doesn't have to be pretty. Just make sure that you don't get stuck with the spiders with their webs, because getting slowed is one of the most gouging things in the entire game. And it is so awful. If you get slowed, it halves, I believe it halves your ATB speed. And when everything is tied into your ATB in this game, it's it's a death sentence to get slowed in some situations. Because your ability to heal yourself, your ability to attack, your ability to use items, restorative or curative or whatever, it's all based on your ATB. So multiple enemies and being slowed, those are the two things that will slow down fights by far the most and make them more dangerous. Yo, Uber does deliver puppies in certain areas. Uber is like Amazon on wheels, right? It's like the ground Amazon. They just be out delivering all kinds of stuff, man. And Jack in the Box did kill people in the late 90s from E. coli. So let's go ahead and remember that before we make any kind of super judgments. Yo, White Castle, fire. White Castle is fire. We don't have them in the South, though, unfortunately. And so we don't get to. All we get is the crappy freezer section ones that you get at like the grocery store. And it's definitely not the same. I think anybody who's had White Castle can attest to that. So one thing that's worth noticing, I saw it happen a second ago, but I didn't say anything about it, is the way that the random targeting works in this is very, very strange. In the fact that, oops, oh, G19, M11. In the fact that if you shoot 3 bullets, and they all 3 are dictated to go onto the same target, but that target dies with the first bullet hit, it'll just stop. It won't fire the rest of those bullets. It won't retarget something else to help you out, to kill something. No, it's just like, alright, we're done. It just doesn't fire the remainder of the bullets. So if you get unlucky and your first bullet kills something, all of a sudden you'd lose, you know, a good deal of your turn. I'm actually going to sort my inventory real quick, see what my medicine situation is. Nah, it would be alright. Famous last words. So, Shiva, obviously a Final Fantasy game. They were like, you know, Shiva, we'll throw Shiva a bone. Oh man. But Shiva is my least favorite thing in the whole game. I can't stand her. I don't like how the fight goes. It's too random. She does moves that completely make our strategies irrelevant. And right there, she did something she never does, which can only mean that this fight is going to be real strange. Usually, she opens up an attack that half healths you, no matter the amount of... I'm actually going to have to use medicine here. Oh no, I could have just forced contact damage, I think. So I screwed that up. But Shiva has a weird arsenal of abilities, right? And they work very, very well to dance around the restorative HP count of your CM vest. So her first ability is a circular ability on the ground that you cannot dodge unless you get lucky invincibility frames. It's that one right there. And what it does is it half healths you, right? Well, then she has a move that if she follows it up with, she can just immediately kill you because it does more damage than what you're left with. So it literally works just perfectly around your CM vest and its ability to heal you. And then she has a laser beam that doesn't do a whole lot. And then the worst thing about her is that she can heal herself. So I'm probably going to die here. Yeah, that's fine. There was only one hit left, so I was playing it a little risky. But it's okay. Got 2 revives, I'm not worried about it. You don't want to pick up her gun. So the worst thing that you can see is that she will heal herself. And every time she heals herself, it pretty much costs you 2 turns. And when that happens, it stinks, because she can heal herself 0 times like we just saw in that fight, or she can heal herself, you know, 20 times. And the fight can just last forever. So it's really, really finicky. The fight is super, super hard to prepare for. And it's really, really easy to die on, like you saw me right there. Now, I played it really, really YOLO, just because I didn't really care if I died, considering that I had the revives that I do. So I was prepared to die. But usually, you don't want to die, because you don't pick up revives most of the time in the speedrun route. So dying to Shiva ends your run, you know, an hour and 15 minutes into it, or whatever you're at. So Shiva is just probably the worst boss in the entire game, in my opinion. Can't stand her. Don't like her. Everything about her makes me upset. Okay, what are we talking about now? What is Wawa? Somebody's going to have to enlighten me. Because I know that people go hard for Jimmy John's, but I'm not buying into the hype. I think Jimmy John's is whack. I think Jersey Mike's goes way harder. Oh, fried chicken. See, we have a place called Babe's, which is like super famous for its fried chicken. So I can't really eat any other fried chicken ever since. Yeah, Jimmy John's is bad. Like I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Jimmy John's. Don't understand it. Don't understand the hype. Jersey Mike's fire. I'm not even sure what Wawa is. I live in DFW, yeah. No, so what happens is you order the food through Uber and this program that they have with McDonald's, and they will literally go pick up that order that you've already put in and bring it to you. It just costs a little bit extra based on how far away you are. Like I live literally in walking distance of a McDonald's right across the street from my apartment. And it was like an extra $2 to have them deliver it to me, a good 700 feet away. So I was like, yeah, probably not worth it. That's making a $5.50 McDonald's meal, $7.50, just not worth it. But yeah, Uber will literally come and drop your food off, as if it was. Just imagine if McDonald's delivered. That's pretty much what Uber Eats has become, as of right now. But like if you order it while you're getting ready for work or whatever, you know, there's merit to that. Saves you a little bit of time. What am I doing again? Oh my goodness. Forgot what day it was. Like in the game. Wawa is like QT. Oh, so it's a gas station. It's a gas station that sells food. Because we have Buc-ee's, which is the king of gas stations. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I made pizza rolls a little bit ago that I don't have time to go and grab. So I'm definitely gonna have to reheat those bad boys. But it's worth noting that pizza rolls are on sale right now. You get a bag of 120 pizza rolls for $7. Can you believe that? That's just ridiculous. They're losing money. They gotta be. I feel like Subway is like the McDonald's of sandwiches. Anyways, back to the game for a second. Right there, I pick up a tool. We actually save a little bit of time if we got the tool out of the the chest in Central Park, but we didn't get it, so it's okay. But we need every tool we get in this game. Currently, I'm playing around with some strats that involve getting a super tool, seeing how we can utilize that. So far, I've come up with absolutely nothing, but it's funny to think about. No game, only talk about food. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sorry, guys. Sorry. My bad. My bad for talking about the game for a second there. No, I am 100% like totally down to just talk about food. I just don't want to be never invited back to an RPGLB stream. It might already be too late to save me in that sense. So guess we should just truly embrace what this is about, which is ideal food joints. Right here, we just got a series of doors. We got to collect items to turn on the power. And right there, I move in that fashion because I'm dodging an encounter to the north. We pick up these fuses, and we And we need to turn the power back on. Because the first place she decided to go, she was like, okay, I'm going into the hospital. And she goes to the basement. Like, first of all, that's the last place I'm looking for anything, is the basement of the hospital, right? Like, anything that matters in the hospital is probably not going to be stored in the basement, depending on the kind of person you are. An important thing to know about this game, and speedrunning it in particular, is something that can save you a significant amount of time, is if you buffer movement during loads. So if you start moving, most of you probably know what that means, but if you start moving the direction you need to be moving in the next screen while it's loading, you'll actually take a good deal of steps before the screen has finished loading. And that actually saves a significant amount of time in the end of the game, probably more so than any other game I've speedran. I know that a lot of the Final Fantasy games are like that. In that sense. So right here is the first of 4 fights in the hospital that we can get twice. These guys are really annoying because they will spit out this slime at you. You can kind of dictate their movement for them a little bit as far as like where they're going to shoot the slime. So it makes them not too terrible to have to deal with. And actually a little trick I learned is that if you get them caught on each other, like if they're stuck on another creature in a fight, they can't actually use their ability, and they just stand there until they get unstuck. So I'll use that strategy in a little bit if I get a certain fight later on. Well, that was really odd how she walked through that door. Here's the second fuse, and what I'm going to do here is actually I'm going to do a little bit of menuing just to make sure that I have enough inventory to pick up this item and pick up the next few items I'm going to need. I should be fine. So this guy right here, his name is Ratman, I believe. He throws fireballs at you, and he and then he can also like just melee attack you. But he's really weird. I don't understand the thematics behind the character design whatsoever. They're like, you know what we need? We just need a reptile guy that throws fireballs at you. They're like, yeah, you know what? That's super common. I've seen other people do it. It's a huge success. But like Legend of Dragoon, all the names for all the enemies in this game are super dumbed down. Like in Legend of Dragoon, it's like this guy carrying a huge heavy object is like, this guy's name is Strong Man. Parasite Eve, same thing. It's like, that guy looks like a rat. Yeah, that's Ratman. What are you going to do about it? What's the best mitochondria pun you know? Oh man, that's super hard to say. I did a marathon that was just filled with quality mitochondria puns in chat. And I, for the life of me, cannot remember the best one because there were so many of them. And I was just non-stop cracking up. I'll have to go check the VOD and get back to you. Ah, the M10. So the sad day, boys, we won't get to see the god-awful ice bullets and have to hear them for a good 40 minutes or so, which is really a shame. Okay, what did I just do? Oh, that was... Oh, man. See, I almost screwed that up, which would have been bad. Why do they have 2 guns called the same thing? They're 1 digit off of each other. I don't like it. What did I forget? Oh yeah, to equip it. That's always what I forget. So right here, you're gonna have an example of Mixed Man. The Mixed Man is probably the most annoying thing to fight in the game. Not because he kills you, or because he's hard or anything like that. Just because the abilities he uses literally exist to slow down speedruns. He has 2 abilities. One is to slow you, and one is to throw a ball that is just an extra enemy on the screen that really messes with your random targeting. So mixed men suck. Palmer, have you ever watched the movie and read the manga? So I've not read the book, but I have watched the movie. The movie is on YouTube, and it is awful, but it is totally worth watching, if that makes sense. Is Mixed Man more annoying than Shiva? A different kind of annoying. Mixed Man is really Mixed Man is really annoying for speedrun purposes, but Shiva is just a run killer in general. She's probably the hardest boss fight in the game. Right here, I'm going to show you guys a little lulz, and it's to repair the wires after you've turned the power on. Super dope. Yeah. Okay. So bats are their own thing entirely. I don't even compare them. Bats are the worst thing in the whole game, and then I'll explain that when I get to the bats. But yeah, we should not talk about them. I don't want them to hear me and jinx me and blind me 80 times. I actually did a donation incentive where I for every time I got blinded by the bats, I donated $5, and I almost went broke. Yeah, there is a Parasite Eve movie. You can watch it in its entirety on YouTube in 240p. That repair job was shockingly unrealistic. I have to agree. The fact that they even gave you the ability to do that cracks me up. They're like, hey, you know what would be funny? The one funny thing in the whole game? Let her shock herself. Let people think that their run is over. And then it's really not. That would be funny. It's probably the same guy that was like, hey, you know what? We should make them hold circle if they want to run, because that's what they want to do. Walking, that's what the people crave. So these guys, I just kind of let them hit me. They don't really do a whole lot. I don't really care about them as far as like what they're capable of doing. I will use them in some fights to help me out as far as like healing, but the reason that I don't care in that fight particularly is because this fight is super consistent. This fight almost always goes the exact same way, and it goes that the flying honeybee thing will always slow you as soon as you step in here, and the fight is almost 100% scripted. And I don't know why. It's like the only fight in the game that's always going to do that immediately. So your movement is going to be almost always the same. And I think maybe it's because it's like one of the only screens that has like forced movement like this. There's not a whole lot of them. So maybe that's why the fight always goes the same way. But it's a really easy fight if you just have ever done it before. I'm going to heal up for this next fight because this next one can be a little bit annoying. And I don't feel like using any medicine because I don't have a whole lot at my disposal already. So what you want to do is just kind of like move a little bit and then wait for him to use his green jelly attack, then move a little bit more. And you should always manage to dodge it. Now this is the fourth room of the 4 rooms here where I can get a repeat encounter. So as you can see here, he's stuck on the jelly, which keeps him from being able to attack. So that is a little strategy that I used as far as if I get this fight again. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and... The book is supposed to be infamous for actually being a screed against organ donation, apparently. Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Oh, bad jokes. This game, if you go watch my VOD from Shots Fired, it was 3 hours of bad jokes. I kid you not. I didn't read the book, so I can't speak on it. I have to imagine that if this game was derived from it, it's probably a little silly as far as like the actual science in it, because the science in this game makes no sense. But that's okay, right? Because it's a video game. So this is the worst fight in the hospital for you to get twice. But if you actually get the... I didn't do it. I'm bad. Feels bad. If you get the bee stuck on the jellies, it makes the fight a little bit easier. But I didn't. You have to do it as soon as the fight starts. But this fight just takes a long time. It's not that it's difficult. It's not that it's dangerous or anything like that. It's just that it takes a while to finish. I'm actually going to let him hit me so that it'll proc one of my heals. Hurry up, man. Thank you. And then, so far we are, what, 1 for 4 on repeat encounters. 1 for 5, and 2 for 6. So that's not terrible. It's not terrible so far. We've gotten the 2 fights that we have gotten are the ones you probably don't want. So that's a little unfortunate, but it's okay. So as you can see here, because my gun is random targeting stuff, I try to stand in a position that will allow me to at least be close to reaching everything. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. You gotta stand closer to the larger group of enemies and just hope that the singled out target doesn't get focused. But you know, it's whatever, it's not always up to you. But I've not read the novel. If the book is anything like the novel is, which I highly doubt, because I'm sorry, if the movie is anything like the novel was, which I highly doubt, then that would be hilarious. Because the movie is a giant meme. It's hilarious. You should definitely watch it. And then the game storyline also is very all over the place. As far as like that doesn't really make sense, but it's like doesn't matter. Everything can be explained away with mitochondria because the science backing it is completely unreasonable. And when the science is unreasonable, you can just be like, yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's why. So I always heal before this fight, just because of how the giant jelly works. It's super hard to dodge his attacks, but I should be able to get 2 off before he does the second one. Ah, the bee vest. Oh, we talking about Vietnamese food now? Yo, because banh mi, I go hard on some banh mi, right? I can eat banh mi for days. So fresh. Like, you won't find better sandwiches than banh mi, I'll tell you that much. I don't think I've ever had poutine. Oops. Speedrun done of a game with the slowest running and walking pro tag. Good luck. You get used to it. And then when you go speedrun real games, you're like, wow, I truly appreciate how fast these characters move. What made you want to run Parasite Eve? So the reason that I ran Parasite Eve actually is because I started speedrunning with Final Fantasy IX. I was a huge Final Fantasy IX fan, huge Legend of Dragoon fan. And I was so familiar with Final Fantasy IX, I figured I could run that game. I figured I could learn it without issue. And I was wrong. That game just sucks. I ran out of having 10-hour days at my disposal when my work schedule changed. So I had to find an RPG that was similar in like the turn-based RPG storytelling scenarios. And I remembered Parasite Eve having played it for just a brief period of time. And I thought, you know what? That's a cool game. I'm gonna check out the notes and stuff for that. So I went onto the Parasite Eve speedrun subreddit, or speedrun the website speedrun leaderboards. Sorry, and I found Primus's notes, which were absolutely incredible, still are absolutely incredible. And I literally learned the game blind just in a matter of a day and a half, using Primus's speedrun notes and nothing more. Knowing absolutely nothing about the game, those notes were able to carry me because they're so incredibly well made and detailed. So I figured, okay, this is a 3.5, at a slow pace game, 3.5 hours. I can afford to do that and practice that and play that and stream that more than I can Final Fantasy IX. So that's ultimately why I landed on Parasite Eve. It wasn't that I had any kind of like childhood attachment to it or anything, or had I even really played it before. I know I had downloaded it at some point on the PSN for $5 when I saw it was on sale and made by Square, and that was really the end of it until I did pick up the run. And it's also worth noting that the run is not crazy complex. We don't have like huge skips or glitches or anything that's like frame perfect or crazy. So it's a really, really good first speed run to learn. So I learned it really, really quickly, and I was able to continuously do runs to get my time down because it was such a, for lack of a better word, easy game to run. So right here you can see that the lizard guy, the rat man, is actually stuck on the other character. Now if their animations have something to do with running into you and to attack you, you can actually just get them forever stuck. Yeah, I'll take it. So that's why I decided to run this game, and I just fell in love with it. Like, it's so unique. It's so incredibly just its own thing. Like, you won't find another game like it. Like, the other games in the franchise really aren't even like it. I know that a whole lot of people had never seen it, so it's super fun to stream for the people who have, that have the nostalgia value, or the people who are like, what the hell is this? Why is everything turning into weird, decrepit monsters and stuff? So that kind of helped me develop a love for the game after I started running it. Oh, Legend of Dragoon, I could not run it, man. First of all, the run is long, and it is not easy. It is a rough game to learn because of, you know, the utilization of items and all that kind of stuff. So I'll give it to you guys. If you run that game, kudos to you, man, because I could not do it. But as far as playing casually, Legend of Dragoon defined my childhood. Incredible game. So right after we do the... yeah, and you know what? Zeke here, I believe is your name. Sorry if I butchered that. The sequel, I played it a little bit. And it was cool. Like, it was its own game for sure. Like, it's nothing like this game. But it plays so much more like Silent Hill and Resident Evil and games like that, right? And I'm just not a huge fan of those games, which is why I obviously like this one having an RPG background as opposed to running Parasite Eve, which is a completely different game style. Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. Whatever, I'll be alright. Why is the timer transparent? Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea, man. They just got me to sit here and talk nonstop. So this fight can go a couple different ways. If you see the spider take a step back as soon as the fight begins, you're in trouble. If he takes a step forward, it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a pretty normal fight. But if he takes a step back, he's always going to open up with a web attack that slows you and roots you in place. It's awful. It sucks. No, I mean, it's brutal. And then right here, another interesting thing to note about the spider is that you can actually dictate its movement by you kind of corral it in a fashion by moving a certain way, and you want it to move in a certain way so that you can, in the fight, in a specific situation, like you want the bug to end a little bit higher up than he is right now, which I completely did not get him to do, so that you skip this little walking animation he does. So that's a little bit of time save that's on this fight, but altogether you shoot them, you try not to get hit, and you shoot them some more, and that's basically the entirety of this fight. A lot of the boss fights are like that. That's one of the ones that doesn't have a whole lot of strategy. There are some methods to killing the other things that are a little bit more intricate. Spider is a really consistent, pretty easy fight, real hard to die on, as long as it starts off decent. Energy Shot is used to... Energy Shot is basically 2 turns worth of damage. And also, one of its bonuses is that it freezes. So right as an enemy is about to use attack, if you get off an Energy Shot or a Liberate, it'll stop the enemy what he's doing, and you'll get your attack off first, guaranteed. So it lets us fit a little bit more damage into a smaller slot. We usually use it to finish stuff off and things like that, and that's why we use it. It is nice to save on ammo as well. There's a few times where you'll see me use Energy Shot just to basically get things to a lower HP right off the bat, or to finish them off. I saw somebody asking about the SMGs, why we use the SMG as opposed to the handguns and things like that, and there's a couple reasons. So the first thing is that the SMG, as I was explaining earlier, you get that random targeting, which fires an extra bullet, which is not has no damage reduction applied to it whatsoever. So you don't have to, you know, rate of fire 3 actually does less damage than rate of fire 2 with a random bullet firing. So first of all, that is a feature on the SMGs, which is a large part of why we use it. Second of all, SMGs have some of the fastest base ATB and base reload speeds, which is another big reason that we use it. And then it also is obviously routed in very easily. Like it's an exceptional part of the route that just happens naturally. We don't have to go out of our way to acquire any of them like that. So we will use an SMG for the remainder of the run until we get to the end, in which we will use the M8000 handgun to finish the game off. But one of the coolest things about this game, and playing it casually, I guess I should preface by saying that, is that you can mix and match gun stats and make like all kinds of weird, crazy games, or weird, crazy guns that make no sense, that have like crazy features. You've got things that you can like make an automatic shotgun SMG, or you can make a shotgun that fires multiple bullets. You can make a pistol that's a shotgun. You can just make stuff that have rocket ammunition. It's crazy. So as far as like playing the game casually, I would definitely suggest it, even if you don't care to speedrun it, because you can just make the game really, really fun and interesting and a little bit unique every time you play it. Yeah, we used to in the run actually make our SMG into an automatic shotgun that had 2 commands. But now we use a pistol that's a shotgun with 2 commands. So it fires 2 bullets that have a spread. You can hit multiple enemies with it, and it just pumps out damage. So it's awesome. It's a really, really powerful gun. And we've started using that every time now. It used to be that if we got the faster gun, we would always mod it a certain way, but now, regardless of what gun you get out of the chest in the hospital, we finish the game with the M8000 because of how good it is. What's more dubious, the science or the gun logic? Man, it's just those things together, coupled with a few other things, that make this game what it is. I can't even argue with what's wonkier. If we want to get on what's really wonky is the hitboxes of stuff. You run into crap that doesn't exist literally all the time. You see like a bench, and you're like 5 feet away from the bench, and you just get stuck on it. But yeah, that's every single run we'll use the SMG. We actually don't use anything besides, like, we use the pistol early on. We switch to the assault rifle for a central part. Then we do SMGs all the way to the end. And on the very end, we use a pistol again, if you can even call it a pistol. What it does is unlawful. But as far as like what is the best gun in the game, I doubt that we even get anywhere near that. I believe that the best gun in the game is a gun that you actually synthesize with junk, but I'm not 100% sure, having never done it myself. Is there any worth in the Chrysler building run? As far as like for speedrun category, not a whole lot of people run it. Mainly because for the speedrun you have to have all your stats maxed out, which means you have to do so many new game runs that you have that many stats. Or you can get like a modded save file or whatever, like as long as you don't tell anybody, we don't really care kind of thing. Because we know just the kind of amount of hours it takes into New Game Plus something. But there is a lot of really powerful weapons in the Chrysler weapon. There's a gun with inner 3 commands that is pretty fire. So as far as like getting cool stuff out of there, definitely check it out. Or if you want to play extra content, there's a lot of really cool fights for the game that are in the Chrysler building. There is not a 100% run for this, no. What there is though is like I've considered adding like all bosses, because there's a handful of bosses that we skip in the regular run. And for a donation incentive, I've considered toying around with that. Some of the bosses in the game are actually really strange. Like there's a crab in the warehouse that we go nowhere near. And it would be cool to see somebody fight that. So right here is the bats. And let me explain how the bats work for a second. So the bats, if they hit you with that sonar, will blind you. And if you get hit with blind, you can't hit anything for 4 whole turns. I believe it's 4 turns. Primus can probably... that was greedy. Ooh. So you never want to get blinded. And a big reason why this game is flawed in the way that status effects work is that... So that fight was perfect. That fight was perfect. But the issue is that you don't want to... like when you kill an enemy that poisons you or slows you or anything like that, that enemy will usually, when it dies, will drop the same item that you need in order to cure yourself of that ailment. So because we haven't fought anything that blinds you yet, we don't have a way to cure blindness. So we literally just have to wait on that fight up there, 4 turns, and hope you don't get blinded again as soon as it wears off. Because you get the cure D after it. So that's a little flaw in the way that the distribution of items for status ailments work. Thank goodness we didn't get this fight. This fight is brutal. 2 snakes, 2 bats, it's awful. Probably the worst encounter in the whole game, in my opinion. So right now we are 2 for 7. So we are 3 for 8 on random encounters. That's pretty good. Because of the way the EXP is distributed, you just kind of want to get no random encounters until the end of the game, where the encounters you get, you kill more quickly and they give you a lot more EXP. But I have to say, all these well, status ailments do go away after combat. The issue is that you don't get the item to cure that status ailment until the fight is over, until you kill the thing that just blinded you. So that's why that first fight of bats is such a struggle for us, because there's 3 of them, we don't have any way to get rid of it, and they can just constantly blind you. You can lose whole minutes on that fight. Like, that's no joke. Really loved this game as a kid, really haven't found anything like it since. Dude, I agree. Chrono Crosser, totally understand, man. This game is unique in a way that just is awesome. Makes no sense. So usually, yeah, as we saw here, that guy will blind you. If you're fast, you can get to him and hopefully get an attack off with 2 crits or more. You actually don't need to fight the gators for the... I believe the Club 2 is actually right at the end of this ledge. I don't think you have to fight anything to get it. Yeah, sorry, now that this is a cutscene, I can explain it a little better. So, like, the bats blind me, and I don't have a way to get rid of it until I kill the bat that just blinded me to use the item that he gives to cure blindness. And that's how all the enemies work in this game. It's kind of a weird way that they did it. But for speedruns, it's really punishing. I've actually considered running Vagrant Story. It's similar in the time period and animation and way that the game is very odd and unique. And the world record runner for that is a really cool guy that really loves the game. There's just not a whole lot of other runners. So I've considered running it, but man, that is just not an easy game. Just not an easy game whatsoever. As far as the club is concerned, I'm actually working on a run that is called Club %, where you only use melee weapons throughout the entirety of the game. If it's possible, I'm not entirely sure, honestly, because there's a lot of fights in the game that I have no idea what the crap we're even going to do as far as dealing them with a melee weapon. Because the fight at the end of the game, it literally has like 8,000 health, and you only hit it for like 1 damage. So we would have to club it 8,000 times. And I just don't see how that's doable. Yo, the cutscenes in this game, obviously unskippable. Sucks for a speedrun. But as far as like the quality of the cutscenes, they're pretty nice. They're dark, which is a little bit, you know, new and kind of risque for the time period that they decided to go this, you know, kind of sinister, dark, kind of morbid route. I believe this was Square's first mature title ever. This game was. So they were really taking a risk and doing something different, and obviously it didn't pan out well. This game was never actually even released on any PAL consoles. So it wasn't the greatest selling game ever. And they basically completely changed everything about it when they made Parasite Eve 2. Yeah, the game will turn 20 on March of next year. So I plan on doing like a 24-hour stream or something of different Parasite Eve stuff on that day. One of the weekends in that month. So right here, I'm actually going to make my first safety save because this fight is just odd. It can go wrong really, really quickly. It should be fine, but it should be a lot of things that it normally isn't, and that's kind of the nature of the Centipede. So I'm going to keep 2 of those. What else is in my inventory that has so little space? Just tons of medicines. Okay, well this fight should be fine then. I want to make sure that I have inventory for 2 more medicines and a cure P. The fight that we kill in a... No, I will not stream the 3rd birthday. The 3rd birthday is inferior to every other Parasite Eve game. The 3rd birthday didn't exist, and I will continue living the rest of my life pretending that is fact. Third birthday, man. That's a dank meme. That is a dank meme. I'll give you that much. Oh, I almost screwed that up badly. Very perfect. Which Parasite Eve is your favorite? By far the first one. By far, just because, and that's the cool thing about the Parasite Eve franchise, right? Is that the first one is such a RPG, and the second one is like a survival horror game. God, dude, I'm literally incapable of dodging that. I don't care what anybody says. The second one is like a survival horror game, and the first one is like an RPG. So you get a completely different game both times for both games in the same series, which is wild. Maybe bad design, but cool design. You know, hindsight being 20/20 kind of thing. Oh, such bad timing. So right here, we use Energy Shot to immediately remove one of the body parts, one of the lower HP parts of Centipede, so that our targets have been reduced from 4 to 3. This fight, you basically just got to stand closer to some of them and just hope that you hit them. That's really how it goes. It's really difficult to manage with the random targeting on your gun. Oh, you just kind of got to get lucky like that. So that was actually pretty decent right there. And then for the remainder of the fight, you just stand closer to one side and hope that your shots go more off on one side than the other. Oh, that was bad. Oh, let me use a medicine 3 here. I don't want to pop my next revive, just in case something goes wrong on Triceratops. This is kind of where you want them, preferably, so that they move closer together. I'm gonna let them move one more time. Man, this is a bad Centipede fight. There we go, cool. I have some PTSD because the last Centipede fight I did, my vest didn't heal me for absolutely no reason. And I just want to prevent that in the future. Oops, I forgot something. So here is where we would put ice bullets on the M10, right here from Centipede's gun. We would put ice bullets on the micro Uzi, I'm sorry. But the fact that we don't have the micro Uzi means that we won't get to hear the lovely sounds that the M10 makes, which is very, very sad, because it makes the museum just hilarious. No, T-Rex isn't bad. Triceratops, I've had a lot of issue with Triceratops recently, so I'm going to save the revive just in case Triceratops goes poorly. T-Rex is actually a pretty solid, pretty consistent fight. It's not too difficult. Doesn't give me too much issue usually. So right here, we have a disc change that's in a very weird spot. Like, it's not after any key part of the story. It's not after any kind of huge groundbreaking storyline discovery or anything like that. It's not after a huge mega boss fight. It's just random. Yo, Highlander 2 was not a bad movie, alright? I thought Highlander 2 was dope. But I also thought I thought Ghost in the Shell, the newest one, wasn't so bad. So, you know, maybe I just don't know quality stuff when it hits me in the face. I do run Parasite Eve after all. Triceratops is, I would definitely consider him tougher than T-Rex just because of his abilities. You can actually manipulate how T-Rex moves and the attacks he'll do, and his attacks don't do a scary amount of damage, and they will almost always consistently pop medicine if you have it in your inventory. Whereas Triceratops can just snipe you. I found that out the hard way 2 times in a row recently, that he's capable of doing some strange damage. So right here we walk into this what is believed to be an abandoned museum, and right off the bat, creepy white dude is just sneaking a creep at you, and she's just like, whatever. Continue, shall we? I need to make sure that I healed. Yeah, I didn't. You want to use medicine to heal there, because it's nice to start this fight off with haste if you can squeeze it in. Scorpions are probably the hardest non-boss fight in the game, just based on the attacks that they use and how they work. They can stun lock you with their poison move and stuff, and they counterattack almost every attack that you throw out. So yeah, he will attack you with his tail, he will attack you with his arms, he will attack you with his poison from his mouth, so it's just not a good way to play around him. There's the poison attack. You don't ever want to get caught in the middle of that. It can definitely stun lock your life away. Not a terrible... Oh, wow. Not a terrible fight. Where is it? But now that we have heal 3, it makes all of these fights a whole lot... Like, if you don't die in the fight, heal 3 almost is a full heal at this point. And we're about to start picking up some really, really strong and solid medicines. So it makes this whole leg, the whole museum, you can actually play very aggressive to just save time. Just get hit with stuff and not really care. Because the medicine and stuff you get in here is so strong and you get so much of it. And having heal 3 at your disposal is really, really nice. One of my favorite games, man. I'm glad you like it. I love this game. Range +2, right? Isn't that weird? You don't see that very often. So, interesting thing about the hospital, the museum, and this is a good example, is that it's one of the only places in the game outside of the sewers where the composition of the fights that you get, even the guaranteed fights, can be different. So this is definitely the rarer fight of the compositions you can get. The most common one is 3 lizards, 3 of those little tiny green lizards that hop around. You get that fight almost every time. Those guys they stink to have to fight because they stun lock you and their attacks are really hard to see because like their tongues are very, hard to even tell if they're sticking them out. And that fight right there with the 2 lizards, if you have ice bullets, it goes a heck of a lot faster. So ice bullets, the whole strategy behind it, it's really, really hard to gauge just how much time it saves because it's completely dependent on how many fights you get with the ideal composition in them, if you do even get the fights to begin with. So there's a lot that goes into, what is the optimal run or just how much time save is there left in the game. So like my sum of best, I have no idea if that's even reasonable or like completely able to be beaten or anything like that. I mean, I believe there's time saved in the current run because there was a lot of it that was played really poorly. But as far as like quantifying it, it's not as easy to do. Now armadillos are probably my favorite thing to fight in the entire game, and the reason for that is that you can kind of dictate their movement. Oh my gosh! And usually they drop 3 medicine 4s, which are the strongest medicines you'll get in the entire game. But occasionally you see a full cure, which stinks. Full cures are just hot garbage. So far we are 4 for... What is it? Is anybody keeping count? 4 for 8? 4 for 9, something like that. So pretty good RNG as far as the random encounters are concerned thus far. We'll see as the museum progresses just how lucky we get. Oh my gosh. Hey, not bad. Sure, intended strats. Five out of 7, most def. So right here is another fight that can vary in composition. You can either get 1 lizard or 2 lizards right here. So we got 1, obviously that would be the ideal scenario, to only get 1 of them as opposed to 2. And lizards should always die in 2 turns. So that's beneficial when we see just a single one of them. I found it weird that some of the chests are RNG. Yeah, a lot of the chests are 80% one thing, 20% another. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad for us. Most of what we pick up at a chest in the game we want, so the 80% odds that we're getting it are actually in our favor. There's a couple of times where it would be nice to pick up the more rare item from a chest, and we usually don't. But that's only, I can only think of like 1 or 2 in the entire run. The Micro Uzi M10 chest, I believe, is 50-50 down the middle, 100% even. It doesn't feel like that when you're actually playing the game. But you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong. Primus would know more so than I would. I had a demo disc of this game and always wanted to play it, but my mom wouldn't get it for me. Yeah, I mean, in 1998, the demographic for PlayStation was probably, you know, younger kids, so a mature title was kind of a risk, and it was Square's first mature rated game. So I can definitely see why my mom would not have bought it for me. My dad accidentally bought me Grand Theft Auto Vice City at one point, and they promptly lost their mind after they watched me play it for 30 minutes. So is there going to be a striker building speedrun after this run? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. First of all, I don't even know the route for Chrysler Building, and I'm pretty sure the Chrysler Building is random. Pretty sure the floors change. M10 is totally 95%, dude, I believe that. When I first started running the game, I had no idea, like, I was getting Micro Uzi all the time. And now that my times actually are decent, and like, I'm like on, you know, really good paces and crap like that, nah, M10 every time, baby. When it matters, it lets you down. And I really feel like that's just Parasite Eve in a nutshell. I have the original game on a shelf. Yeah, I have when I bought my hard copy of the game, it actually came with an extra disc, which was like a demo compilation disc of a few other games. It's weird. And when I bought it from the used game store, it came with that demo disc. So I thought that was really odd that they combined those two, or that somebody maintained quality in all 3 of those discs and managed to trade it back in together. Yeah, I don't know what striker building is. I assumed it was just a meme name for it. The RNG chests are definitely not a reset. Well, I say that, but I reset over the Tool in Central Park, and I reset now over Micro Uzi too. But that's just me and me being a narcissistic, I guess. There's definitely absolutely not a necessity to have to reset whatsoever. I still do over a couple things, but it's just because like I'm chasing optimization as if it was some kind of forbidden high that always eludes me. So here is one of my favorite parts in the game. She goes to this, she's like, oh, this place is empty. And then somebody locks the door behind her, and she's like, whatever, better jump out this window. And she's like, look at this 30-foot drop. She's like, you think I can do it? Yeah, I'll do it. Like, let's not even consider the fact that the fate of humanity, the fate of the world rests on her shoulders, being able to stop this omnipotent being that is just murdering people left and right. And she's willing to put her safety in jeopardy to jump 30 feet down so that she doesn't have to climb another set of stairs. I think that's a little bit selfish. And then she jumps and she says, "Woo, made it." Like, yeah, I feel like you should be a little bit more concerned. So here we're going to actually heal using medicine as opposed to our parasite energy, because it's pretty likely that we will get a fight with a scorpion in it, and we want to have full parasite energy so we can open it up with an energy shot. Would you guys think a Shadow of War might be a good speedrun? I've actually never seen Shadow of War. Like, I don't know what it is, so maybe. Don't take my word for it. I've never seen Sarah Jean Underwood in the nude. Doesn't mean it wouldn't be dope. You know what I mean? So live your dream. That's what I gotta say. Yeah, Aya is a badass. I decided that the next dog I get, I'm gonna name Aya, if it's a cool dog. Like, it depends. Depends on the species of dog, like the breed, rather. But I think Aya is a cool name, and it's made even cooler by this character who just goes hard. She does. She wears a lot of hats in this game, right? I won't spoil any of the ending, but she does a lot of stuff that most people never do in their lifetime, just to save the world. Doesn't really get a whole lot of, because they're trying to keep it under wraps. She doesn't get a whole lot of credit for it. So I feel like that's a little bit undersold. Yo, what the heck is going on? Oh, I missed it. There we go. Dude, she's not afraid of anything. Not anything at all. She's like, oh, giant mutant dinosaurs and stuff like that? Forget about it. Got it, no problem. So this is one of the more troubling fights, and the reason for it is that it's a super long rectangular hallway, and it's really hard to corral the enemies together. So random targeting can really do you no justice here in this fight. And also, like, the depth perception in this game is horrific. So you have absolutely no idea whether or not you're close enough to something. Your gun range is based on like this weird green arc that comes out when you ready an attack. And even that doesn't help you a whole lot when you have really narrow, long screens like that. So you kind of just got to get used to it, got to get a feel for it just by playing a lot. So right here I'm going to energy shot one of these lizards. It's a lot harder to keep 3 enemies in check than it is 2. And you, at this point of the game with our stats the way they are, we can actually... oh, nice. We can actually kill the lizards with 1 energy shot. So I want to be a little bit mindful of how many medicine 4s I pop. I don't want to pop a whole bunch of them because they are super valuable. We don't get a ton of them in the run. But right here, I don't know if this next room was like an Easter egg or like a secret room. I don't know how many people find this playing it casually. But I'll tell you right now that if I didn't read the speedrun notes when I started playing this game, I would have never found this room I'm about to go into. And it's really strange. You kind of have to hold like down right to move into this hidden elevator. And then you go to floor 4. I don't know what else is on floor 4 besides what we pick up. But you get 2 really good items in here. A tool and a shotgun that we will utilize a little bit later on. And we go back to floor 2. And then when you go back through it, you have to hold up and left to kind of escape the hallway. Sarah Underwood. Sarah Jean Underwood? No, she's like a... I don't know if she's on Fox News. If so, then I need to start watching the news. She is. She used to be on Attack of the Show with Olivia Munn back in the good old days. So yeah, I don't know if that room is secret to anybody. I don't know how many of you played it casually and were able to find that room. If so, kudos to you. I would have never done it myself. guess I want to play with a game with low RNG. This game has quite a bit of RNG, but the RNG doesn't gouge you until you get to like a really optimized time. So you can actually, like, with terrible RNG, terrible luck, get a 315, a 310, or whatever, just if you play well. Which is nice that this game has that capability. It's not like, okay, game's over because you got a bad dice roll here, bad dice roll here, or whatever. But yeah, dope cutscene. You just you see a T-Rex come to life. I mean, I don't think it gets much cooler than that. Yeah, I believe she did Playboy, but I think she did it while it was like when they had. Oh man, so this is a repeat encounter, and this is a really bad one to get because the armadillos have such wide space to just kind of roll around and do what they please. It's really hard to keep track of what's going on. It's a lot like raising my 3-year-old. I just kind of stand in place and hope everything goes all right. And if they catch you like in a stun lock because they multiple hit you at a time and you get a brief little hit stun, you can actually take a substantial amount of damage from these guys. They should remake. Dude, that's a ton of ammo. Yeah, that's one thing I like about this game is that it's exceptionally easy to learn. It's exceptionally easy to execute. There's not a whole lot of like super micromanaging of skill or anything like that involved. It's just playing consistently, screen memorization, optimizing your boss fights, and not dying. So the run is just how fast you can do it and how lucky you can get sometimes, which is nice if you're learning a game, you want to learn a game quickly, and not have to worry about it being the hardest game in the world. So that's initially what brought me to it. Now right here, I need to, what do I need to do? I need to I need to use some medicine. Because you have to go into this cutscene and get 2 items that are forced into your inventory, and if you're not paying attention, you can just sit there and mash for no reason and lose a lot of time while your inventory is trying to swap itself out for one of your weapons. So dangerous if you haven't sorted your inventory. Raising a 3-year-old, shooting random bullets at armadillo mitochondria mutants. See, that's not, when you say it like that, right? When you say it like that, it sounds a whole lot different. But it's not entirely inaccurate. This game might be interesting to be remade, but I don't think the engine would work today in today's market. See, the issue with this game is that when it was made, it was not done well. Like it was completely not what they anticipated it turning into, and it didn't sell well. And as such, when they made the second one, they're like, well, we can just get completely away from that one because that was not a good job. We're going to make a game that's completely different. Now, in hindsight, that uniqueness that made it do so terribly when the game was initially released, that it didn't sell for or whatever, is the same reason we enjoy it now, looking back on it. We look back on it and we're like, wow, it's so unique. It was nothing else. Even the other games in the franchise weren't like it. And the reason for that is because it did badly, because people didn't like it back then. So I think that a remake would kind of take away some of that, because they weren't trying to make it the way it came out. It just kind of came out this way. It didn't sell well. So if that makes sense, I know that that's kind of a little convoluted in my explanation, but it would be really difficult to remake it and still have that factor that everybody loves so much about it, which is its uniqueness based on kind of the weirdness in its design. Yeah, exactly. The originality is 100% what makes its identity now that we look back on it and play it as like a retro game. Yeah, and you know what? I think this game held up pretty well. The story is not bad. I'm going to explain the story a little bit after we beat. We have a 10-minute mashing. Yeah, but it sold enough to become a greatest hits only in America and Japan. And it had I looked at some of the sales. It didn't do crazy well. It did just enough in the first year of its release. But the ratings weren't great, and every year after that, its sales dwindled significantly. Granted, it was competing with new Final Fantasy titles and things like that, and eventually the PlayStation 2. But it was never even released in any European areas, any PAL console areas. And it had the book and the movie to at least hype it a little bit that first year of its sales. So I think that it came out at a good time for it to do well enough, and that's why the second one came around. Man, another random fight. So far that's 7 of 11. All of a sudden we're not doing so hot RNG wise anymore. Do I burst into flames? Not yet. I burst into flames all the time at a Fury. I have about 3 controllers. Now I usually stream with a face cam, and my viewers have seen me throw a handful of controllers at the ground multiple times. The one I play with now is actually duct taped together, just because I like the way it feels the most. But that's when I do it on PS2. Now, when it's on PSP, I obviously don't throw my controller at the ground because that would be a little bit risky. Third birthday was released worldwide. Man, you guys on the third birthday, you guys killing me. I'm over here trying to pretend it doesn't exist, and you guys are just insisting that it did. My controllers have formed a union. It's pretty ugly. I'm pretty sure my upstairs neighbors dislike me very strongly because of the obscenities I scream on a pretty regular basis. My roommate, he automatically knows when I'm streaming. So he's like, oh, I heard him scream, 9 cuss words in one long string of single word. And he's got to be playing Parasite Eve. What's my PB? I believe my PB is a 256.35. I believe that's my current PB right now. So right here I'm going to open up an energy shot. The thing you want to do is get him out of this first form as quickly as possible. It does substantially more damage. And you just want to dump as much, you just want to throw the whole, the kitchen sink expression. That's what you want to do here. You want to hit him with everything you got as quickly as possible, just to get him out of this before he starts charging around like a madman. Now I'm playing this super safe because I lost 2 really great runs the other day to him charging around like this. So I really should keep my health above 400. And I'm going to do that now. Ooh, forget about it. The world record for this game is 256.35. I think. I mean, it might be like 256.39 or something like that. I haven't checked in a minute. I don't have my splits up, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I should have casted haste. Primus is probably laughing at me right now. Alright, so not a terrible Triceratops. It wasn't great, but not terrible. Yeah, I have the world record, sorry. I didn't really make that pertinently clear. That's my bad. The Triceratops is rough, man. It's really, really rough. It's way harder than T-Rex in my opinion, and I used to play it really gung-ho, and I still do in my runs when I'm trying to get obviously optimal times. But man, you can die really easy on it. T-Rex is a lot more simple in my opinion. Wait, what are we getting hyped about in chat? I'm sorry. Oh, about my my PB? Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. I saw Parade of Fools and stuff and was like, dang, man. So right here, you want to just keep haste up, throw energy shot when you can afford it. What the hell is the swoop? I don't do any Chrysler building runs. I don't do any runs besides the one you're seeing now, and nobody really does. We don't have a whole lot of runs for the other versions, or the other categories, I guess I should say. And the reason is because like the new game, to get a really optimal time in new game, and to get a really new game plus, and to get a really optimal time in the Chrysler building, you would have to do new game plus runs so much that you get all your stats to 999 and you get a gun that one-shots everything, and that would take a really long time, like lots of runs you'd have to grind out. Alternatively, you could just like get a modified save file, but there's not a whole lot of those at our disposal, and considering that PSP is the fastest way to run the game, we would have to then convert it to a PSP file. So yeah, I've just kind of avoided anything besides... Oh my god, Primus. Primus. Oh, thank god. I thought I just totally did not get the M8000. I was about to have a mild heart attack. Okay, I don't know why I thought that. I was tripping some serious gonads, I guess you could say. Oh, wow. I'm all shook. I'm shooketh right now, honestly. If you don't get that gun, pretty much the game's over. Or we're definitely gonna make an estimate at that point, but cool. We're fine. It takes at least 3 new game plus runs to finish Chrysler building. Really? Yeah, there's no backup. Not with the M10, that's for sure. M8000 800 times better than the M10. I'm not going to confirm that. Yeah, anytime anything terrible... Yeah, not getting the M10 is a thing, or M8000 is a thing if you have full inventory. Like if you just mash through the inventory without picking it up, you know? And for some reason I thought I didn't get it. Just because I wasn't paying good enough attention. I wasn't confident in my... I must have done something wrong. I definitely did something wrong. What did I do wrong? I don't think so. Maybe I'm just tripping. Yeah, the backup was to get the M8000, but if you don't pick up the M8000, there's no way to then save the run, because we need the burst really badly. Multi-shot shotgun pistol is what I wanted, but for some reason I thought you only fired 2 bullets as opposed to 4. And I'm trying to think of why I thought that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping. I'm still shooketh from the from not getting the initial, from thinking I didn't get the M8000. Yeah, this is definitely not right. Primus, what did I do wrong? Whatever, I mean, we'll make it work. How is this even possible? Oh my god, you know what I did? Oh my god, I know what I did. Oh, wow, this is bad. This is really bad. This is going to be a struggle. I'm going to have to use Liberate like crazy. I moved Rate of Fire instead of the bonus stats from the M10. Oh, this is hilarious. I'm not really sure what to... I mean, we'll be alright. Like, we'll be able to finish the game, I think. I'm just gonna have to liberate my mind away. I didn't move the stats. I moved the run shouldn't be over. But I'm gonna have to peep at what our time's at right now. Hey man, this is actually the intended route. It was all a ruse. This is how we play the game. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Accident. I don't have accidents. This is next level strat. I'm unveiling it here. You saw it here first, folks. Come on now. I'm trying to see what my time is currently at so that I can... Yeah, I should have almost like 80 attack, and I should only be firing 2 bullets at a turn, and they should be doing like 180 bucks a pop. Or 180 bucks a pop. 180 damage a pop. But instead, it's doing the same amount of damage, it's just broken up into more attacks. So it's not the end of the world. It's a little bit slower. It's a little bit slower for sure, but it doesn't lose the run. I'll just have to lean on Liberate a little bit, which I kind of do already. 180 a pop. Every time you screw up in Parasite Eve, you put $180 in a jar, similar to a swear jar. And right now, I am my jar is almost up to $900 million. So, got that going for me. But yeah, this is oh yeah, nah, that's fine. Like, I gotta revive. I don't think I'm gonna lose. We just might have to, the good thing is, I have so much wiggle room to play with. I have so much room to play with. And the reason is because we have 8 minutes of credits at the end of the game that we have to sit through. So if I go a little bit over estimate, we can just cut that section out. Boom, I'm right back under estimate. No big deal. So we're Gucci, guys. Everybody relax. I mean, the only thing that's dead is my pizza rolls, which never got touched after I got them out of the oven when this run started. But you know what? Those can be reheated. Life goes on. We're good. I'm actually kind of amused. I've never seen how this what this is going to look like. And I did it in front of my biggest audience. So I'm really proud of myself. I don't know how that happened. Like, you actually have to move. I actually looked it dead in the eye and did it really slowly. You actually got to move the D-pad a couple extra times in order to screw up like I did. But it's whatever. We all good. I got my vape, right? So, like, obviously I got bigger issues to worry about in my life while I'm over here vaping than how my Parasite Eve run's going. So it's whatever. Reheated pizza rolls are so bad, dude. They are. You're so true. So right. I'm going to explain a little bit of the story right now, because this is 10 minutes of cutscenes and mashing that are kind of thrown together. So up until this point, the story has not been explained in grave detail, but I'll explain it now, to the best of my ability. So essentially, what we have learned up until this point is that so Eve is obviously this Melissa, this singer, and Aya is immune to it for some reason. Nobody knows. Until we realize that she goes to the hospital, she gets these old vaping pizza rolls, bro. Do I vape? Do I vape? Does a cow moo, bro? Do I disappoint my family, bro? Like, of course I vape, dog. Sorry, back to the story. When we're in the hospital, she finds these old medical records that reveal that there was a surgery done from an organ donor, and that organ donor was the original Eve in Japan, and she donated a cornea, which Aya received, and and she donated, I believe it's a liver or a kidney. It's one of the two that Melissa received. So Melissa having, I don't know if it's the larger, I don't know if it's the larger organ being so much more strong, but the mitochondria took over her, and while as Aya, it was not as pertinent, so it did less damage, I guess you could say. But them receiving those organs from the original Japanese Eve is the reason that this has all transpired. So what we're doing right now is Eve is actually pregnant, as you just saw, and they don't go into grave detail as to how that happens. They do a little bit in the Clamp's office in the end of the museum, but in the movie it's a very main central part of the storyline. You actually see some real hot steamy action for Eve getting pregnant, because what happens is she has to get pregnant so so when she gives birth to that child, she will give birth to what is considered the ultimate being, the first true being born of advanced mitochondria, which will usher humans as a species into an evolutionary period to basically further the species through evolution. Basically wipe out all humans and let these more advanced creatures live in their place as the new humanity. So right now we're basically on a mission to kill that baby. Isn't liver responsible for those cells who can turn into any other cells? Dude, I went to public school in Texas. I have no idea. I'm gonna take your word for it though. All I know is that alcohol affects the liver, and most of the other drugs affect the kidneys. Melissa vaped, got pregnant, gave birth to the true being, and wipes out all humans. I mean, yeah, we can go with that. Dude, seriously, like, we're literally gonna gun down a baby here in a second. I don't know how it's gonna go, based on the fact that I totally screwed up my gun. Totally just described the nativity story. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Basically, if anything is to be taken away from this, it's that vaping gets you pregnant, because when you vape, you're just irresistible. That's obviously why I am a speedrunner of Parasite Eve. You know, the successes in my life are so just, you know, it's so copious. I have so many successes in my life that, you know, I take this L on purpose, just to kind of, you know, keep myself in check. Shooting a baby shouldn't be too hard. Actually, the baby is very easy. Is this the greatest Christmas game ever? Yeah, so this is a Christmas game the same way that, like, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That's what I tell people. I have no idea where my phone is. Public school... Dude, I can shoot a gun. Absolutely can shoot a gun. Can I tell you, like, square root of stuff? Probably not. So yeah, I guess if that's not Texas public school in a nutshell, I don't know what is. So right here, everybody's celebrating. They're like, hooray, we killed them. But in actuality, they did not. Yo, actually, read Low 65. That's something I talk about all the time. They literally get her and they're like, hey, guess what? We're going to need you to go into a helicopter. You have a pilot's license? She's like, no, not at all. They're like, forget about it. You don't need one. You don't even need a helmet or seatbelt. We're going to let you go up there solo. You've probably never flown a helicopter before in your life. But we're going to need you to go up there and just fire missiles in the middle of New York City. She's like, what if I screw it up? They're like, could it really get much worse? I think you're all right. And as if the mitochondria led her, she hops up into that helicopter, flies it like a pro, guns down Eve with no issue after a very anime-style pep talk situation, a little monologue going on. And then she just abandons this helicopter in the sky. Like, who knows where this helicopter lands? That's the biggest thing to me. She's like, forget it. Don't need this helicopter. Parachute out. Nobody else was in there. Like, it's just crashing into a building at some point, or maybe into the ocean. I don't know. Alright, because I'm not really prepared to deal with this, I'm gonna... Oh my goodness. I have so much ammo. Oh my god. Alright, boys. Let's do it. And she's lost her jacket. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. So now you can truly appreciate just where her high-waisted pants end. Kind of like right under her breast, probably above her belly button, I'd say. It's got an autopilot. It'll be fine. I don't think it lands itself. I don't think that's a thing. Yeah, at the end of this, they all just like, congratulations, we did it. They all go home. It's like Statue of Liberty is still in ruins. There's probably a significant amount dead. You probably crashed a helicopter into a school or something. I have no idea, but I also think this is like one of the spots where you can truly appreciate that it's a Final Fantasy inspired game. Because if you look at this Eve in this form, you can really see that she's just like a bunch of objects smashed together to create a mega boss. And that's a lot like what the Final Fantasy series likes to do. Bosses like Necron and stuff like that, which are just a bunch of different shapes and weird limbs sticking out all over. They really have a knack for that at Square Enix for some reason. So here we're going to haste. Autopilot will land it. That's pretty sound science, if you ask me. This is hilarious. I'm actually going to use a medicine just to be on the safe side. So right here, when she confuses you, it actually randomly changes your D-pad movement to something weird. Like it doesn't just reverse your D-pad movement. It completely changes it into like some weird crap. So you can't get good at moving in reverse. This fight is taking forever. Oh my goodness. This is what happens when you screw up, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh. I am doing so little damage. Okay, so I think that's good. I can't actually heal because it will lose me a lot of... I need my parasite energy. Alright, so we made it through that. We'll see how the next phase goes. But I think that if we make it through these two phases, we're fine. We're fine. So I'm just mashing. A little bit nervous, but it's whatever. This is just how I play Parasite Eve. And now she slips out of that bottom half that was very creepy. She looks a lot more fine. A little creepy still, but fine. Oops. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually liberate early. I don't think I've done enough damage to liberate early and kill her. But I'm going to go ahead and try because it saves me from taking any crazy damage, and maybe I get a little lucky. Liberate is so cool. We use it a couple of times in the run, and it's just so awesome to watch. If any of you have seen the anime Claymore, it reminds me a lot of that. Alright, perfect. Perfect, see? Man, y'all were worried. Here I am, just sweating small bullets. And it's all good. The game's not over though. We still have a handful of more bosses, but the other bosses are, I think, are easier. I would consider them easier fights than that Eve fight. Calculate. Yeah, it was all planned. But anyways, to my point, Claymore is an anime that I guess didn't do well enough to get a second season, even though the story didn't really end. My point is, if you've seen Claymore, in the very end of it, she turns into like she's able to like warp her limbs to be like half beast, half human, and you look a lot like that when you cast Liberate. So I thought that was cool. It was a really good. I loved the anime. I guess it lost funding and it didn't manage to get enough money together to finish it out. I've never read the manga. I absolutely should. So here I'm going to pick up all kinds of medicines just to be safe, because all the fights are going to last longer because I'm doing less damage with this weird gun, that I'm probably going to need to utilize a little bit more medicine because I'll take more damage in return. I don't know how my strategy is going to go on the UB2, but we're going to find out. Eva's a little bit of a thought. She's like, she just gets herself pregnant. She a playa, dude. I guess when you have advanced mitochondria, you really just think the world of yourself. I don't know. Like I like to think I'm a humble dude. If I had advanced mitochondria, I know for a fact I'd be doing dope stuff. Light myself on fire for party tricks. Win bets against drunk people. Oops. So right there, you can actually rename your weapons for whatever reason. I'm not really sure. I think we just renamed one of them. It doesn't matter. But we did. This guy right here will give you tons of medicine, tons of ammunition, if you so choose. You don't need any of that cure crap. It's pretty useless. And I want to just kind of see where I'm at as far as like resources. Oh, it's just called the M now, because that's cool. The M. Oof, not a great amount of medicine, but you know what? We'll make it work. We'll make it work. Do I like Riff Raff? I don't really listen to rap music, so I don't know. Sure, I mean, I don't dislike him. Her mitochondria, yeah, I have to imagine with advanced mitochondria power, you're probably safe from a decent amount of narcotics, which is why these medicines are having little to no effect on her. Renaming weapons is for New Game Plus. I have no idea. I've never played New Game Plus. Maybe if you rename it, there's a super trick that gives it a bunch of more damage. Does renaming determine what you take over for New Game Plus? Thought that's how it worked. It very well could be. I have not done any New Game Plus runs. Rap and music, pick one. Oh man, that's rough. That's rough. Worst comes to worst, club strats, dude. Don't make me bust out the club, all right? Like, y'all talking like it's a joke, but I'll break out the stick and put the hurt on some people. You know what I'm saying? You ever beat a baby with a stick? Tell you what, it's fulfilling, among other things. I've actually really wanted to run Chrysler Building. My issue is that I just don't have the time to put into, nor the patience to put into grinding the runs to get the stats that are necessary in order to do so. Oh, I get it. That makes sense a little bit. I mean, not really, but it makes sense a little bit. Why does mitochondria powers cause things to explode? So, from my understanding, my very limited understanding of biology, it's that mitochondria create energy, and that energy creates heat, and that's why things blow up. Oh, dude. Yo, I would expect nothing less of my community. Like, we're a tight community, bro. If I screw up, I need y'all to just really let me hear it. That's what I really want. I'm actually going to play this super safe. Like, I'll heal and lose time if I have to. So it's okay. I mean, we shouldn't lose the run or anything like that. Just a bit of a meme at this point. I've never done the run like this, so you guys are definitely seeing the first. And if we complete it, it's just truly testament to how incredibly skilled I am at gunning down children. So right now we kill the baby. We just shoot him a bunch. An interesting thing about the baby that we utilize contact damage for is that if you are standing on top of the baby's head, you can actually bait some invincibility frames at a certain point. When he does an attack that reduces you to 0 health. Yeah, this fight should never last this long. Good lord, that was a lot of damage. Do I smoke the devil's lettuce? I do not. That giggle bush, I don't mess with it. A little bit in high school. But now I got a kid, so the only fun I get to have is this. Oh gosh, reloading. Dan's game. So what I'm going to do here is heal 3. How much Parasite energy? Oh my god, it's a lot. But by the time it comes back, Liberate should be able to kill. Oh, this is going to be rough. Okay, what about Medicine 3. That's what we'll do here. I should have probably liberated first. Okay, so what we want to see, so we want to see 4 attacks of Liberate land on the body on the ground, and 3 on the wings, or more than 4 on the body on the ground. Yeah, so that's bad. What we just saw right there is trash, and we oh my goodness. So we are in rough shape now, boys. I have to tell you, not great stuff going on here. But we're alright. It's all good. He should jump to the middle, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, what do I do here? I believe I'm Medicine 4. And I gun him. That might have been too strong. Oh, we couldn't outrun. Yeah, that was the best idea. Hey, not bad. See? Not bad. We're good. And I got a lot of PE going into the next fight. We're in good shape. I can actually probably afford to haste and liberate. Yeah, that's my liberate strat, Kaio. I'm sure you've seen it before. But if you get lucky and it hits the body the correct amount of times, which is half the time, you actually, that fight becomes super easy. Not bad. We doing fine. We in this. The only big issue is that my gun takes so long to fire because it's got so many bullets. And it does so little damage. We fine. Oh, man. And then we liberate for lulz. Yeah, adult form is actually fairly simple. And then the next form is even more simple. Right now, like, nobody runs the game like this with this style of gun. So Primus is probably having a good chuckle. But at this point, like, with the pocket revive and everything, and the safety that Liberate brings, and no, like, real PB or anything I'm trying to push for, we're fine. And right there you saw I canceled his attack by casting Liberate. And that's why I did it at that point in time, because I knew I wasn't going to outrun it. There we go. We good! We good, y'all! Part of me saying that is reassuring myself a little bit. Not everybody does it, Kaios. I just kind of came up with it because it's so much safer. And in an actual run with an actual gun, you don't obviously have this much issue. But, guys, because we have a gun that fires more bullets, we are now going to... You know what? I'm just going to... Medicine 3. Because we have a gun that fires more bullets, we're going to kill this phase of the boss much more quickly. So, can we say that it was an accident? Or really, just sleeper in-game strats? Asking the real questions. I'm gonna keep healing myself just to ensure that I don't die through this. I want you guys to truly appreciate what you're about to see. Probably one of the dopest cutscenes in the entire world of all video gaming, period. Long-term accidents, fam. Exactly. I have a 3-year-old. Who does long-term accidents better than me? No one. That's who. Tell you that much. Just check out how gangster this is, right, guys? Probably one of the most gangster scenes in all of video gaming. Literally catches fire, hurls a genetically advanced bullet magazine clip, lands in the water to relieve himself of said flames. Doesn't even scorch his suit, bro. Oh my gosh, dude. It doesn't get doper than that, right? Daniel's just the real OG. So I don't care about the damage I take here, because I have a revive. Alright, guys. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually going to mute chat for a second so I can't see it. Because this next scene, I'll let somebody in chat explain it to you. It's a Grim Kaio somebody. Oh, this next screen is easy to lose the entire run on. I'm actually a little bit nervous about it. Every time I do it in marathons, I get a little nervous, so I'm minimizing the chat screen for now. I'll bring it back up as soon as I'm finished. So now if you want to spam or whatever, I guess would be a good time. I have to mute my TV because the music that plays here is so nerve-wracking. I cannot stand it. Like, it gives me heart attacks. Mild heart attacks every time I play this game. And it's worth noting that if you accidentally go back to the previous screen that you were just on, or you get caught, like the UB catches up to you, the ultimate being, you lose the game. The whole game's over. No revives, nothing, no medicine, anything. It's just over. So I think everybody has lost a run at this point. All the speedrunners at some point in their speedrunning tenure. Hell's Kitchen. She drops the dank meme. Oh snap. And then she splits. So we didn't get the glitch this time, which is so nice. In my world record run, I almost threw away the world record because there was like some weird bug, light glitch animation interaction that like forced the screen to not load, and I almost butchered the movement because of the instant load for the next screen. It was really odd. We did it. We did it, boys. We made it. Busted gun strats and all. That is Parasite Eve, ladies and gentlemen. Now we just have some mashing. We have some chat to go through. That's it. Hell's Kitchen, baby. Gotta drop the dank meme before you blow up the ship. She was doing it in the 90s, bro. Whoo! So, yeah, dude, first of all, it's super, super easy to die right there. We've considered changing the RTA time to right there, that when you escape. We can't change it to IGT because it would actually, like if you safety saved and reloaded, it would actually, it would definitely affect that. Also consoles, the difference in consoles, and like one time I had a run that was 3 hours and 5 seconds, and when I improved it to 2 hours and 59 seconds, 2 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, 6-second difference, IGT was still worse. So I'm definitely in favor of changing it till that scene right there as far as RTAs are concerned, but do I run any other games? Yeah, I run Ni no Kuni. Not well, but I do. Lately I've been doing South Park, The Stick of Truth. I've been doing a lot of runs of that. And I'm kind of just, like, if people suggest stuff to me, I like to look at it, kind of learn it. My boy Plywood, shout outs to Plywood, huge homie of mine, always watching my streams and everything. He really wants me to run Silent Hill, so I've considered doing that. Yeah, we do keep mashing for another 10 minutes. But I do like it that it's nice. I can give like high estimates and then just be like, all right, and time, and call it whenever. Sorry if I said that and misled you. It's not time. But I can say that anywhere I want within the estimate because the run's over and you just sit here for 14 minutes. How long is a typical Ni no Kuni run? So my run is like 7 hours and 15 minutes. But realistically, sub 7 hours is pretty standard. I only ever did one run of it. Just beautiful game, beautiful gameplay, super, super fun. We came up with a pretty awesome duplication glitch. So it's super fun. I wish I had the time to dedicate to running it more. Ni no Kuni is just a gem of a game that really got overshadowed by like the Kingdom Hearts stuff. Just bop the follow. You follow. Oh, hit you with the follow. Thank you, Person Sky, Majestic Pizza. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you to everyone who followed. Thank you to everyone who talked about. Thank you to everyone who talked about burgers with me. I think that's really what carried us. That's what gave me the motivation that when the gun did screw up to just keep on going. I actually know a guy that's already working on. He's already started routing Ni no Kuni 2, or he's in preparation to do so, and he got a lot of us that run Ni no Kuni 1 into a Discord in preparation for it. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out. I believe that comes out later in the year, maybe January or something. But yeah, right here we mash for a little bit more. And then what's hilarious is like, so literally 6 days ago, they have this play. They put it on, and everybody bursts into flames. You know, mass casualties. Very deadly ordeal. And then they're like, you know what would be dope? What would be dope is if we just did the exact same play this time as a homage, perhaps, as a tribute. We should just do that. And then they're like, and you know what? Just to really sell it, we're going to add our own fire. Because there wasn't enough of the last one. People aren't scarred enough. And then if you look at the background characters, they're all just like really like mega black and white rendered characters. It's hilarious. Like playing spot the main character, very, very easy in this game. Very easy. So all I'm thinking about right now is that the pizza rolls over there that are waiting for me. You already know. You think what I did to Eve was dirty? You just wait till I get my hands on these pizza rolls. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna get ugly. Reheated pizza rolls are not. They're not the same as they once were, but like it would go against my humanity to let them go to waste, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, actually, my roommate might have eaten them. I don't know. So I'm going to go over estimate a little bit. But absolutely, let me talk a little bit about the game real quick before it goes out. So this is not the true ending. Obviously, the true ending would be finishing the New Game Plus in the Chrysler Building. And when you do that, you get to fight Eve one last final time. And that's kind of where the story ties out. And that's where you finish the game. At least that's the true ending. So this, as you can see here, in this lovely little animation here at the end, is kind of a more sinister, not completely finished, not completely wrapped up ending. So absolutely play the game casually if you haven't. It's on PSN for $5. Like, you're not going to find a better game for $5 anywhere, I promise you that, even if you only play it once. If you want to get into speedrunning it, we saw a lot of really great speedrunners of this game in the chat as well. Kaios, Primus, pretty sure I did see Pooexel in there a little bit, Turbo Dog, like a lot of really great runners run this game, have run it before. If I fail to name you, I'm sorry. We got new runners coming in, and it's an easy game to learn, and it's a hard game to like get truly masterful at. So it's got a low skill cap but a high skill ceiling. You can definitely go find the notes on our speedrun page. You'll also find there the link to our Discord, and the notes are flawless. You can learn the game blind in a day and a half. That's what I did, and put a decent run together. The game is not super punishing with a lot of safety strats and things like that. You can definitely make it through a run completely unhindered. So absolutely, just take a look at it. Maybe it's not for you, but join our Discord. We're not a huge group, but we're a tight-knit group and everybody's always talking about it. I don't have the link on hand or the notes on hand, but just go to speedrun.com/PE, the letters PE. And right there, go to guides. We have all the guides. We've come up with a handful of stuff. Like, the people who do run this game, although there's not a ton of us, really care about the game. So you'll find that in this community, where some other communities might not be so much. Is PSN kind of like NES titles on the Wii? Yeah, it is. So PlayStation Network, you can actually download the game for PSP. You can play it on the PS3. I don't think you can play it on the PS4 for some reason. I think their store is different. But you can catch me at twitch.tv/professor_Palmer. On that page, I have a bunch of social medias you can go find. You can find the links to my other runs, and I got a bunch of information in my info section, so definitely check it out if you want to follow me a little bit more. But yeah, Kaios just posted it, speedrun.com/PE. That's our leaderboards. You can find all of quality information there, and start playing the game, man. It's not tough. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed talking with you guys. You were an amazing chat. Listen to the song right here. It's one of the highest. This song in the credits is sung to pretty high praise. A lot of people really like it, so I'll stop talking a little bit. If you guys have questions, absolutely put them up, and I'll more than happily answer them for you guys. No, Primus actually, I think Primus has the notes completely updated. He even has the Ice Bullet strat in there. He even talks about the 121 Worm strat, and I believe he talks about the Ultimate Being strat at the end and everything. So I think they're as up to date as they could possibly be. Yeah, I'll tell you when to stop the timer here in a little bit. It's a couple more minutes. It's almost exactly 8 minutes long, the credit scene. And as soon as I hit save to create the save file is when we'll actually split, do the final split or whatever. So it'll be a little bit overestimate, absolutely. If you guys If you guys need to cut me because I'm too far over the estimate, absolutely as well. But give a huge shout out to these people that are running RPGs, man. RPGs are just an incredible community of speedrunning in general. And a lot of people run a lot of really long games. It takes a lot out of you. And, you know, and it's easy to go underappreciated. Some not so big games, not so popular games, it could be, you know, 9 hours, 10 hours, you know, even more. High Spirits knows better than anybody. So thank you guys so much for letting me be a part of this. It's truly, RPG runners are, you know, something else entirely. So it has been a blast. So shout outs to all the runners that have run before me. I saw some really, really long runs. Shout outs to the runners who are running after me. I've seen some crazy stuff, so I'll definitely be watching. Yeah, it looks like this is going to be probably like a 307 or high 307, 308, hopefully, somewhere around there. Are you assuming? Hey, High Spirits, I've seen you run long. I've literally personally watched you run some long stuff. I'm not saying it's all you run, because I know that your spectrum is as wide as the debt in America is high. So. Yeah, I could have swore. You know what? I got time. Okay, yeah, well maybe it's not long games, but I watched the dude stay awake for like multiple days. Alright? So, I'm a Parasite Eve runner. I was schooled in Texas. Give me a break. Yeah, I've actually considered running some other RPGs, some things like that. One of the reasons I really, really love the South Park Stick of Truth game that I've been playing lately is that it is so short and it's still kind of like that turn-based RPG element. There's other games that I've looked into as far as like that are RPG elements, short RPGs, Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 7 on PC, those kinds of things. I am having a blast with Stick of Truth right now, though, so I'll probably iron that out a little bit better. But yeah, if you guys have suggestions or you guys are a part of communities of games and you need runners, absolutely shoot me something. They're not up to date, Kaios? Yeah, definitely ping Primus. He's a guy to talk to about that. I could have swore I could have swore that the link remained the same even if the notes were updated, but I could be wrong. But if you guys have game suggestions or anything like that, hit me up on my channel, DM me, hit me up on Twitter, Discord, whatever you guys can get a hold of. Shout out to Swoogie for putting up with me not having the right string key and everything. $15-hour games. Yeah, you know, that's the thing. I'll do a 15-hour game. I just might not do it well right away. That's all. Cortellian, the truth. Yeah, I went from Final Fantasy X, which I was averaging like 10-hour runs doing, and I moved to Parasite Eve, which was 3 hours, just so that I would have more time to do it. And I still managed to put together 12-hour streams of just Parasite Eve with tons of resets and stuff like that. I believe my world record run was like my 3rd run of the day, and it was like 6 hours in. You know what? Legend of Dragoon, I've considered it, dude. It's like my favorite game of all time. So I've considered it, I really have. Okay, this is the last, the director here is the last guy we're going to see. And we're going to mash. We're almost done. Sorry for going so far over estimate. That's my fault. I screwed up my gun. And time.